All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. Full day ahead. So were those peace negotiations over the weekend entirely fake? We're gonna try to find out. It was funny how the Uniparty came to the rescue of Israel when it looked like we might get to peace for a second. All of a sudden, both Republicans and Democrats all over TV go, no, we gotta have more war for Israel. But me getting bribed by Israel has nothing to do with it. Anyways, they're also thinking of now starting to take political prisoners, including my nephew, on trumped up charges. So a lot to get to today. All right.
They've been taking political prisoners. First, they started with green card holders, and I told American citizens celebrating that they're gonna come for you next. They're coming for you next. So enjoy, I guess.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Israelis doing terrible, vicious things rewarded. So, I mean, random story today.
Yeah, Israeli caught with an illegal biolab in Las Vegas. By the way, including AIDS, virus, and all sorts of dangerous chemicals and things like that. Just had all the charges dropped today.
Of course, he also had a biolab.
They get to do whatever they want, by the way. They get to do whatever they want with impunity, including within our own borders. Within our own borders.
Yeah.
So understand that.
A biolab here in LA too could have killed our families.
Who cares?
But he's Israeli, so it's above the law.
They're above the law. Yeah.
So there's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah.
Anyways, look, I'll give you one last random one, and we'll get to the main stories of today. You remember the vicious beating that the pro-Israeli Zionist thugs did at UCLA of the peace protesters? Well, the Department of Justice today going after UCLA for discriminating against Israeli students. I'm not joking, that's literal.
Bunch of innocent worshipers at a mosque in San Diego get gunned down and killed. And the ADL responds to it by saying we need to pass more laws dealing with anti-Semitism.
And demanding $1 billion of our money to terrorize us with, because they're not gonna use it for protection. They're gonna use it to fund vicious pro-Israel groups that terrorize Americans under the rubric of fighting anti-Semitism.
Right.
And notice those Muslims who were killed.
Who cares? Who cares? They're Muslims. By the way, Muslims, Christians, Hindu,
doesn't matter.
Buddhist. Doesn't matter.
But what about anti-Semitism?
Right.
Because oh my God, the Israelis are the least powerful people here in America. I mean, that is what the ludicrous people in media claim. Like, oh my God, Israel supporters are such victims.
Such victims.
They're so tiny and powerless here. All we're doing is trying to protect the super powerless Israeli supporters against the vicious, super powerful Palestinian and Muslims controlling America. I mean, and they're reporters. Please, 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 please. All right, let's give you the news.
Why you gotta work me up before we even cover a single story, Cenk? Why you gotta do that to me, man?
Okay, because I want everybody to understand that Israel runs our government. And I want everybody to fight back. I want everybody to fight back peacefully, rhetorically, politically. And I don't want you to listen to any gaslighters. The people in American media work for Israel. The people in American government work for Israel. And there's no question about it.
Here's the bigger.
I'll debate anyone over it.
Here's the threat that I see growing right now when it comes to those who actually see Israel for what it is and see how toxic the alliance with Israel is to the American people in our borders and our country. Anyone left or right who's trying to sow division among those who have been speaking out against Israel, question why it is they're trying to divide.
Assets. Okay.
Just saying. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get to some actual stories here. It appears that everyone was duped over the weekend by the likes of President Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu as Trump yet again pretended as though peace with Iran was on the horizon. Now, while Israelis had a collective meltdown over the threat of peace breaking out, Israel's Channel 14 notes that Benjamin Netanyahu and President Donald Trump were working together to fool everyone. There was really no genuine effort at a peace negotiation. We'll give you the details before, but before that, we're gonna hear from Cenk.
Well, Anna, I might have been one of the ones who were duped.
You were, for sure.
Yeah, so I think the real question here is, were the negotiations entirely fake to begin with, or were they real and Israel then told Trump, no, remember the blackmail we have, you idiot, go back into the war, and Trump said, I'm so sorry, yes. Because what happened was absolutely clear. Netanyahu calls wars back on. So let's try to find out why.
So this all kind of begins with, unsurprisingly, a aggregation of bullet points that Axios likes to refer to as articles or pieces, written by, of course, Barak Ravid. So it was titled, New Iran Peace Proposal Triggers Tense Trump-Netanyahu Call. This was published last week on Wednesday. In it, Ravid writes that a US source who was briefed on the call told him that Trump told Netanyahu that the mediators were working on a letter of intent that both the US and Iran would sign to formally end the war and launch a 30-day period of negotiations on issues like Iran's nuclear program and opening the Strait of Hormuz. Two Israeli sources said the two leaders were in disagreement about the way forward, while the US source briefed on the call said Bibi's hair was on fire after the call. I mean, just guys, more of the same. I mean, can anyone really trust anything published by Barak Ravid, who is in on the duping of the American people and Iran, by the way? Because as this was happening, the US and the Pentagon, of course, still building up military assets. Gee, I wonder why you would do that if peace is on the horizon, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Just real quick on that. We have 50,000 ground troops ready to go that almost no one talks about in the area. And the degree to which they're ready to go is unclear. Once they land, it'll be perfectly clear. But either way, what Ravid is reporting shows the strength of Israel. Either all of this is fake and Ravid is just helping them with their propaganda about how we have a split in the alliance and don't worry, Iran, you're not about to get bombed, as of course they got bombed. Or he's saying Netanyahu was mad at Trump, and then after the call, Trump did everything Netanyahu said. So thank you for proving to us, if Ravid is correct, then Netanyahu is the boss of Trump.
So then it turns out that Israeli media reported on what was really going on behind the scenes. And I trust Israeli media, they tend to tell the truth. And so Channel 14 reports that a gentleman by the name of Kobe Michael, a senior researcher at the Institute for National Security Studies and the Misgav Institute, spoke to Fox News and told them that Netanyahu and Trump leaked this story to basically dupe everyone, including the Iranians. Here's what he said. Again, Channel 14 in Israel. By leaking the story about an alleged serious crisis between them, meaning between Netanyahu and Trump over a potential peace deal, the Iranians may find themselves completely surprised by the timing of the next military strike. And wow, would you look at that? Same weekend that Trump claims that peace is on the horizon, the US strikes Iran, killing 4 Iranian soldiers. He continues to say the leak created a sense of disagreement between the two leaders and positioned Trump as the leader, giving diplomacy another chance despite heavy pressure from Netanyahu. Trump understands very well who the Iranians are. That was graphic 5. So how many times are we gonna fall for the same BS? Someone explain that to me. How many times? This happened under Biden when it came to the Gaza ceasefire. Now it's happening with Trump when it comes to the Iran peace negotiations. How many times are Americans gonna be duped by the most vicious, evil people on the planet? And yes, I'm talking about Netanyahu and Trump. How many times? How many times are you gonna fall for Barak Ravid's phony reporting? And I'm not saying you as in the audience, I'm talking about the commentators, the journalists, all the people who buy it hook, line, and sinker over and over again.
So 2 things about that. So, Ravid does all these articles where he says Biden and Netanyahu disagree. And then Trump and Netanyahu disagree, and et cetera. But at the end of the day, Biden does everything that Israel asked for, and then Trump does everything Israel asked for. And Ravid never comes back and goes, oh, by the way, my reporting was comically false. Trump did exactly what Netanyahu wanted him to do. There is no rift at all. We are following exactly what Israel wants to a T. Because that's factual, that's true, right? Israel said, even if you take Ravid's reporting as factual this weekend, Israel says, oh, my hair's on fire because you're about to get to peace. I'm not allowing you to get to peace. We're gonna have more war. I'm gonna attack Lebanon. And by the way, Netanyahu did literally say this. He put out a video saying, we are not taking our foot off the gas pedal. We're putting it more on the gas pedal. We are complete war with Hezbollah, he said. So the war is not over. And what did we do? We followed suit. They bombed Lebanon, we bombed Iran, and the peace negotiations are obliterated. So we did exactly what Netanyahu wanted. That is an empirical fact. But Ravid and all the other reporters never come back and clarify, oh, by the way, the whole rift thing that I've been pushing for years and years and years is a preposterous lie. So no, whenever the American president is asked to do something by the Israeli leader, they get on their knees and do it immediately and exactly as Israel wants. Show me where Trump and Israel have diverged. I mean, you've been trying to prove it for years, right, Barack? Like, oh yeah, big fight, big fight. Then where's the policy difference? You can't find one. So go back to the IDF where you're from, go get better talking points. So here's a poll we're asking you guys. This is on tyt.com. Do you think the reported Trump-Netanyahu rift over Iran was actually fake and just trying to confuse Tehran? A, yes, B, no, C, hard to know what's true anymore. I empathize with you if you vote C. So I don't know if this particular story was made up or not, but the conclusion is the same either way. America follows Israel's orders completely.
And remember, look, guys, I mean, the first sign for me personally that this whole peace negotiation was fake was that Trump claimed that, well, he said the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. And then everyone interpreted that as, oh, Iran is giving up control of the Strait of Hormuz. First of all, if that's your analysis, you're brain dead. You like literally don't know how to understand incentives, disincentives. Why would Iran give away their only real leverage when it comes to these peace negotiations? Why would Iran give up control of the Strait of Hormuz when that has been the biggest thorn in the West's side since starting this war against Iran in the first place?
Now they would if they got something substantial in return.
I don't think so.
No, hold on. But if they're not going to get anything in return, which is what Trump says every time there's like, where they say, oh, we got close to a deal, and then Trump comes out and goes, I will be controlling the Strait of Hormuz along with Iran. And Iran's like, what? No. You all have to sign the Abraham Accords where you betray the Palestinians and say they should be occupied forever. And I think Iran might sign it. And Iran's like, what is this lunatic talking about?
Yeah.
Like he just keeps rolling in hand grenades into the peace negotiations. Look, you could say, oh no, Trump is obsessed with war too, and he's an utter moron and loves to destroy our economy for a pointless war. Or you could say he's bought by Israel and Israel's destroying our economy on purpose for their own benefit. But it comes to the same conclusion, which is we're gonna get more war. And these reporters really like, they're a national embarrassment. I'm not talking about Barack Ravid, I'm talking about all of mainstream media. Because when we attacked Iran over the weekend, while we were pretending to be super close to a peace deal, almost all the reporters regurgitated what the Pentagon called it. In every article I read, those were self-defense strikes.
Right. How is it self-defense?
Well, did Iran attack us?
Hold on. No, can I just? They claim that they went after Iran over mine-laying boats. You know, the Strait is utilized by Iran's allies and Iran itself to transport oil and other goods, right? So someone explain to me how it makes any sense for Iran to lay mines in the very strait that they themselves are relying on to allow for the transit of goods, including oil and gas, liquefied natural gas, that they themselves benefit from financially.
Yeah, but Anna,
it's just so brain dead. There's just so much brain dead punditry and analysis.
So there's more to that. Like, so they could lay mines to prevent us from going and our allies from going through because we don't know where the mines are. But that's how you close the Strait of Hormuz. So that's what has been the case for months now. So for us to go, oh my God, they have closed the Strait of Hormuz, we just found out. So we have to do self-defense strikes. Wait, what? Okay, and let's say that you say about the boats, hey, you know what, you're laying mines, you could call it, I could interpret that as a violation of the ceasefire, I'm gonna bomb your boats. Okay, but they bombed Iran, like on land. And they said, well, those are potential missile launchers, so we hit them. well, then you're violating the ceasefire. The point of a ceasefire is you don't attack us and we don't attack you. What if Iran said, well, of course I bombed their aircraft carrier. It has all those missiles on it. And those missiles could have been used against us. No, we're in a ceasefire. That's why you don't bomb our aircraft carriers and we don't bomb your missile launchers on your land. And America goes, no, I get to violate the ceasefire. I get to bomb Iran whenever I want. And hey, moron reporters call it self-defense strikes. And every moron in media is like, self-defense strikes. And that's a trick we learned from the Israelis. When you're about to murder someone and take their land or attack and invade their country, you call it self-defense. So now we're doing it. And they're like, oh my God, it's working. All the reporters also work for Israel. So they're all calling it self-defense when Iran didn't attack us. We attacked them this weekend.
So why isn't Iran bombing Israel right now? That's a serious question, by the way. I genuinely want to understand. There is no ceasefire. If the U.S. is going to carry out strikes and kill 4 of your soldiers, why are you guys not bombing Israel right now? Curious. Anyway, speaking of Israel, I want to move on to Ben-Gvir. Because I want the American people to understand who their masters are, okay? Who they are slaves to. That ugly gentleman that you see right next to me, that's your master. That's the guy who actually governs the country. That's Ben-Gvir, a literal terrorist in Israel, who gets to dictate what our war aims happen to be. In fact, here he is explaining, take a look.
שהוא הדבר האמיתי, זה חיי האדם. הסכם רע למדינת ישראל יכול לפגוע בחיי האדם. אני יודע שראש הממשלה נתניהו וכולנו, כחברי קבינט, גם קבינט מצומצם, גם קבינט רחב, גם כממשלת ישראל, לא ניתן לדבר הזה לקרות. הסכם רע זה הסכם שיכול לפגוע במדינת ישראל, ואנחנו לא ניתן לדבר הזה לקרות. זה לא יקרה.
So when the Israelis were in absolute fear that there might be a peace deal between the United States and Iran. I mean, can you imagine the scariest thing in the world?
What if we stop the endless war?
Oh my gosh, that means less innocent people are gonna be slaughtered?
Israel takes less land? Yeah. No.
So let me read what he said to our audio listeners in case you missed the subtitles there. So again, that was Ben-Gvir. Here's what he said. First of all, there is something called the real thing, which is human life, something that Ben-Gvir, of course, has absolutely no respect for. A bad agreement for the state of Israel can harm human life. I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu and all of us members of the cabinet, both a small cabinet and a large cabinet, as the government of Israel cannot allow this to happen, but this is a bad agreement. This is an agreement that can harm the state of Israel, and we will not allow this to happen. But then they'll turn around and call us anti-Semites for saying that Israel controls our government. But how are you gonna deny it when members of the Israeli government say that they control our government?
And by the way, the facts on the ground matter the most. So if he said they control our government, but he's Baghdad Bob, and we already made a peace deal with Iran, we've already left and pulled out our aircraft carriers, then he's ridiculous. And of course we don't control the government. Then all the propagandists here, otherwise known as reporters, can then fairly say, oh, this is just a minor part of the Israeli government. You guys are overblowing it. Now that's what they say about Ben-Gvir every time, even though he's one of the top 3 officials in Israel and definitely sets policy. And if his faction leaves, Netanyahu wouldn't have a government. That's been true for years. So that gives Ben-Gvir and Smotrich complete power. That our reporters actively lie to you to pay, so that you don't find out what kind of genocidal freaks run Israel and how much they're in control. But then on top of that, so what actually happened on the ground? Well, Israel said they would not allow this agreement to happen, and it didn't happen. And we went back into war. Israel bombed Lebanon, we bombed Iran. Israel got exactly what they wanted. They said, who the hell do you think you are? You think you run your own country? No, it is not good for Israel, so we will ban America from doing it. Now, when we report that, our reporters in America will say, how dare you anti-Semites quote Israelis? You're not allowed to quote. It's like, you know what it reminds me of, Anna? It reminds me of that guy who was so ugly, the IDF soldier.
Which one? He wasn't even an IDF soldier. Wasn't he a settler in the West Bank?
Yeah.
The guy with the weird teeth,
etc. The Israeli government put out a statement saying, if you publish his picture, it's anti-Semitic.
I agree.
He's so ugly that it's anti-Semitic for you to print his accurate picture. And that's what they're in essence saying about Ben-Gvir and Smotrich's points of view. And by the way, Netanyahu agrees with them 100%, has never veered from what Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have said.
That's right.
In terms of actual policy that Israel executes, Netanyahu agrees 100% with Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. And our liars say, no. Their words and actions are too ugly to print. If we told you the truth about them, then we'd be considered anti-Semites. Okay, I mean, that's the strangest thing in the world. But you just saw it with your own eyes. They definitely control us.
I want to go to the very last graphic here because despite the hundreds of billions of dollars in damage that the US and Israel have carried out against Iranian infrastructure, despite the hundreds of little girls who were slaughtered at an elementary school in Manab, Iran, in the opening salvos of this war, Trump would like Iran to normalize Israel or normalize their relations or relationship with Israel. I'm gonna read what he said. The enriched uranium, which he stupidly calls nuclear dust because he's a moron, will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed, or preferably in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place or at another acceptable location, with the Atomic Energy Commission or its equivalent being witness to this process and event. And then he says this, let's go to graphic 14. In speaking to numerous of the great leaders mentioned above, he lists the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan. He says they would be honored as soon as our document is signed to have the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Wow, now that would be something special. No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
You wanna know why Saudi Arabia, for instance, even though the leadership of Saudi Arabia total butt buddies with Israel. The reason why they haven't formally signed on to the Abraham Accords is because the people of Saudi Arabia loathe Israel. The people of Bahrain, Jordan, Syria, all over the Middle East loathe Israel. Just because you've installed puppet regimes, just because you've done dirty, corrupt deals with the leadership of these countries, doesn't mean that the people of these countries like the Israelis, because the Israelis have butchered them, slaughtered them, destroyed their countries, destabilized their countries, overthrown democratically elected leaders in conjunction with the United States. So yeah, like as much as they want to force this onto the people of the Middle Eastern countries that would be part of the Abraham Accords, they're not buying it. Because unlike here in the United States, where unfortunately there is a significant portion of this country that has been fooled by the pro-Israel propaganda, in the Middle East, everyone knows exactly what Israel is. It's a genocidal, colonialist state that seeks to continue expanding their borders.
Yeah, so that's obvious, it's on the map. The only people who are so blindingly stupid that they can't figure it out is American reporters. That's what they claim.
They're not stupid, Jake.
Of course, no, I'm making fun of them.
They're lying.
So that they come out and go, no, we're not stupid, we work for Israel. Okay, that's what I thought, okay? So why don't you just admit it? So this is so over the top. So in fact, let me tell you real quick, after the Netanyahu call with Donald Trump over the weekend, we go back in a war, and not only did we do bombing of Iran and they did bombing of Lebanon, but Trump has 3 new things that are part of the deal after the call, and I referred to 2 of them. Let me break them down as quickly as I can. Abraham Accords, what our lying media never tells you is, in order to sign the Abraham Accords, you have to say that you're gonna normalize relations with Israel without Israel ending the occupation of the Palestinians. So Abraham Accords is not a peace deal. It's a deal to betray the Palestinians and give economic benefits to Israel. And only the leaders of countries like UAE, Bahrain, and Sudan. So none of the people of their countries get any benefits. The Palestinians are totally betrayed. Only Israel gets the benefits. But here in America, you've never heard one cable news anchor tell you that. You've never seen it written in an article. They all say, oh, Abraham Accords, what a wonderful, beautiful piece of peace, right? And in fact, they have Democrats who came out over the weekend and Auchincloss is like, oh, Graham Plattner's a Nazi. Oh, he better not vote against Israel. And oh, this peace deal's terrible. I don't know why we're doing this. This is a so-called Democrat. And finally, he's like, oh, but the Abraham Accords are wonderful. I hope everybody joins them. Oh my God. Okay, so our media is all liars. They never told you what the Abraham Accords actually are. So if it's totally unrealistic, it's an impossible standard. Those countries, if they sign the Abraham Accords, some of them will literally have a revolt the next day within their countries, okay?
And the whole point is to throw the Palestinians under the bus.
Of course, and so again, they never report that even though it is an empirical fact. Now, number two, enriched uranium. The new standard is we want all of the enriched uranium out on day one. But it's buried under the facilities we destroyed. It might take months to take it out. When you say I need it out on day one, you're saying the war is not going to end for months. Okay, totally impossible standard. And finally, number three is Israel says we need an exemption for the ceasefire and for the peace deal for us to continue to attack Lebanon. Well, that's Iran's ally, and Iran is saying no, the war ends for everyone. Israel is saying no, everyone else should stop, but we get to keep attacking, and we get to keep southern Lebanon, and we get to keep doing war. You just are not allowed to defend yourself anymore. Well, who would sign that peace deal? That's not a peace deal. That's unilateral surrender to one of the most evil nations on earth. Nobody's gonna sign that deal. Exactly. So that's why after the Netanyahu call, peace is totally eviscerated, just like Ben-Gvir told you. Ben-Gvir said, this is not good for Israel, so we will not allow it to happen. And they didn't allow it to happen. And golly gee, every mainstream media reporter missed it. Oh, how did we miss the giant news story about who's in charge of this and how the one country that wants war keeps getting war? Literally every other nation on earth, including the American people, including the Iranian people, the Lebanese, everyone wants peace. Every single nation on earth wants this war to be over, except one, Israel.
Then give them a reason to want to end it. That's it, that's the only way. Negotiating with the United States is laughable. Okay, the US isn't gonna do anything for you.
Yeah, Iran, you should negotiate with Israel, honestly. America's useless.
Don't even negotiate.
We're just a stumbling block, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, you can't negotiate with Israel because all they want is war. All they want is more conquest than land. And as they're doing all this, again, American media is like, who's the one country who wants war? And the one country that gets its way every single time. We just can't figure it out. Golly gee, I wish we were reporters.
Anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're gonna show you what we mean when we talk about the uniparty.
All right, let's go to our members on TYT.com. Collecting Miscellanea writes, and the excuses the US is giving make absolutely no sense. Maybe they were using ChatGPT to come up with them, which is a scary thought since they're also using ChatGPT to plan their military strikes. They do apparently use some AI for military strikes, and there's 160 dead Iranian girls potentially because of it. Thanks a lot, Palantir in Israel. Cabbage writes, an American in Israel thinks ceasefire isn't applied to them. They do, and they're aided and abetted by our disgustingly corrupt media that says, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Ceasefires only apply to Muslims, but never to Israel. Israel violated a ceasefire with Hezbollah that they signed in 2024 literally over 1,000 times. And our media never said anything about it. The minute Hezbollah counterattacked after Israel attacked Iran, they're like, Hezbollah struck Iran and violated the ceasefire. The Israelis are victims. God damn it, don't you get tired of lying? Don't you get humiliated at being called a reporter when you do propaganda for a foreign nation? I would hide my head in shame if I was a mainstream media reporter. Jesus Christ, have you no shame at all? Boomer Dragon Cat says, when you start feeling like beating up the punditry, you stop listening to the punditry. Everyone with any sense should stop listening to anyone on television. They're all paid to lie to you. Jack C380 says, we're heading to disaster because of Trump's brain being worse than Biden's and neocons taking advantage of that. Or the blackmail that they obviously have on him. 13-year-old, I don't know. Now I think it's possible. We'll be back. All right, back on the online news show, Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and Experian with you guys, MC Muck and Lenoni. Thank you so much, guys, for joining through tyt.com/join. If you do that, the member stream there has us reading your comments during the ad breaks. So if you're a YouTube member, don't worry, you can connect for free, tyt.com/connect. And I want to give a big shout out to Big Stan 402, who also gifted a membership on YouTube. Much love, guys. Anna, what's next?
All right, I actually want to start off this segment by showing you a video. Let's go to B2.
You could see everyone crashing out yesterday. All of the people that want war, that want death, that want destruction, that want just pure bloodletting for the sake of, I don't know, like something demonic possessing their soul. I don't understand people like Mark Levin. I don't understand Roger Wicker in the Senate, Ted Cruz, and these people are all lashing out at the president. They don't know anything. How many people do you think are being paid by Israel? How many people do you think are being paid by foreign countries? Like, by the way, not just Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, whatever. Like, how many of these tweets, because you saw all these tweets go like literally mechanically, you know, like we don't like it because it's not good for Israel. Like, I want what's good for America. I need my party to win here in this country. If you want to go be Israeli, or you want to go live in Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the UAE or Oman, you should go do that.
There you have conservative commentator Benny Johnson absolutely shell-shocked over the realization that several right-wingers were absolutely furious over the notion that Trump might be signing a peace deal with Iran. Now, it was all meant to dupe all of us because as Trump was claiming that there was a peace deal on the horizon, he then turned around and attacked Iran with strikes that killed 4 of their soldiers. But Jake, Benny Johnson surprised at the Republicans who want more war. There are Democrats who are surprised at the Democratic leadership and lawmakers who want more war. But the uniparty exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's hilarious that they're surprised by it. These sons of bitches on both sides have been selling us out. What did you think 94% of Congress meant? I mean, obviously it has to include both parties, but don't worry, we have receipts. We're about to show you both Republicans and Democrats in different ways pushing for more war that Israel has ordered. And look, it's Israel's top allies in Congress. What a surprise. Let's show you.
So why don't we begin with how Republicans reacted when Trump claimed that there might be a peace deal nearly completed with Iran. So first you have Lindsey Graham, who said, if a deal is struck to end the Iranian conflict because it is believed that the Strait of Hormuz cannot be protected from Iranian terrorism and Iran still possesses the capability to destroy major Gulf oil infrastructure, then Iran will be perceived as being a dominant force requiring a diplomatic solution. That's right, good job, Senator Graham, good job. This combination of Iran being perceived as having the ability to terrorize the Strait in perpetuity and the ability to inflict massive damage to Gulf oil infrastructure is a major shift of the balance of power in the region, and over time will be a nightmare for Israel. Yeah, good job. That was actually the only time I've seen him do accurate analysis of the situation. And guess what? You are the cause of the quagmire the United States finds itself in as a result of this war. He cheerled this war. I mean, did he not know that Iran had already been threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz if the US launches a war against it? Because they kept warning about it. In fact, actual sound military analysts had been warning about it. Few members of Trump's administration allegedly were warning him about it. But Senator Graham is shocked. Oh my God, this is a terrible outcome. So what is his solution? Like, that's what I want to know, Cenk. What is your solution, Senator Graham? You can't find your way out of the closet and you have the audacity to give advice on what we should do with military activity against Iran? What do you want to do? What exactly does he, seriously though, we don't, let me say it slowly so this moron can understand it. We don't have the military capacity to force open the Strait of Hormuz. I know we spend trillions of dollars on our military. I know that we overspend on these defense contractors, but we don't have the military capability. Why is that? Because Iran is more formidable than anyone would then Graham would have anyone believe, okay, so the military there is not some small issue, it's a big issue. We don't have the hundreds of thousands of troops it would take to go in, invade Iran, force open the Strait of Hormuz, and then overthrow the regime, which is what he actually wants. We don't even have enough missile interceptors right now to effectively defend ourselves or our Gulf allies. So what exactly does Senator Graham propose we do? That's what I want to know.
Well, if you watch my live videos from over the weekend when I was covering the back and forth on this, you'd know, because Lindsey Graham went on to say the correct answer, of course, is more war. And we have to finish the job. If we finish the job after years of ground troops in Iran, we're going to get regime change. He doesn't care how many Americans die.
Of course not. They're not Israelis.
They're not Israelis. It doesn't matter. So look, guys, nowadays when I look at these over-the-top statements of Israel supporters, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, I just start wondering what kind of blackmail they have on that particular person. Like Lindsey, we all already know your proclivities. If that's the only blackmail they have and they've already given you gobs of money, it's not worth it, brother. If it's underage, hey, that's a different thing, okay? So I assume most of the blackmail they have is underage for most of these guys, but you'll see. So Lindsey Graham's a Republican, you got more Republicans and more Democrats.
Let me give you the second half of what he wrote, because it's like, you can't be this stupid, but maybe he is. He says also, it makes one wonder why the war started to begin with if these perceptions are accurate. I personally am a skeptic of the idea that Iran cannot be denied the ability to terrorize the Strait and the region cannot protect itself against Iranian military capability. It is important we get this right. God, you are. I'm just gonna keep going. Ted Cruz is next. I'm deeply concerned about what we are hearing about an Iran deal being pushed by some voices in the administration. President Trump's decision to strike Iran was the most consequential decision of his second term. He is right to do so, and we achieved extraordinary military results, including destroying all of their missiles and drones and sinking their entire navy. Did we, Ted? Did we? Because it sure doesn't seem like it. According to, by the way, even reporting from Zionist-owned media here in the United States, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all of these legacy media outlets have been reporting about Iran's military capability and how they've been able to retain most of their missiles and drones. So I know you're not sending your daughter to fight on the ground in Iran. So you're not worried about her losing her life as a result of a devastating war that's being fought on behalf of Israel, not on behalf of the United States or the American people. But I would wonder how he would react to the idea of sending his own daughter to fight on the. No. I mean, who knows? He might be totally fine with it. He was willing to throw his own wife under the bus when Trump insulted her and called her ugly.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if it's for Israel, maybe Ted will sacrifice anything. I mean, the only thing he won't sacrifice is his own ass, of course.
I mean, he's already sacrificed his dignity, that's for sure. So he says, if the result of all of this is to be an Iranian regime still run by Islamists who chant death to America, now receiving billions of dollars, being able to enrich uranium and develop nuclear weapons and having effective control over the Strait of Hormuz, then that outcome would be a disastrous mistake. Well, that's the outcome, and you're not providing any solutions. Simply restarting or reigniting a bombing campaign against Iran isn't gonna work, and Iran has cards to play. So sorry, you're not the king of the world. You don't get to snap your fingers and get everything you want. And yeah, this is devastating for the global economy, devastating for the American people. We're now in a quagmire on behalf of whom? What are we getting out of this? Nothing. But Israel's happy, right? Yeah. That's what you were elected for, to please your masters. Congratulations.
I almost think you're analyzing the comments too much. The simple explanation is, I work for Israel. Israel wants war, so I'm outraged that we're gonna do peace. I demand that Americans fight this war and pay for this war. Did I do well enough? Where's my check, Daddy? Right?
So this is what I want to know. This is what I want to know.
And the blackmail on him.
They are telling you to your face, Americans. They are telling you to your face day in and day out. And so I want to understand, are you just gonna take it? You're okay with the government picking your pockets to fight Israel's wars to your detriment? You're okay with that?
That's definitely happening. That's not a question.
It's happening every day. And I literally cannot stomach it. But we literally have people in this country right now, they're not Israelis, they're not Jews, they don't care about Israel at all. But their brain is so rotted from the partisan BS that all they can think about is, oh, well, my daddy is in charge, not Biden. Biden was bad when he did it, but my daddy is in charge. So I'm gonna go with what daddy wants to do. Okay, you want daddy to pick your pockets, that's great. I don't want Trump picking my pockets for Israel. Okay, I don't want that. I don't want American soldiers dying for Israel. I don't want the global economy to be destroyed for Israel.
I got bad news for you. Daddy is Israel's bitch. Okay, so when he's not at home, he's got different accoutrements that Israel has put on him as they walk him around the apartment. Anyways, guys, look, there's two different ways to frame things, right? So, for example, before we get to the Democrats here, Israel has taken at least $320 billion from Americans, right? Now, there's you could say, hey, that is an enormous sum of money. What did we get for the $320 billion? I mean, that is a mountain of money, right? Well, we got our nuclear secrets stolen. We got our USS Liberty attacked. We got our nuclear triggers stolen. We got our uranium stolen. We paid for $8 trillion worth of wars against all of their neighbors, etc. Now that looks like a robbery to me, that we got robbed and our money, tons of our money, were sent to a foreign nation. And it's not like it was like Bush's AIDS program in Africa, where, oh my God, we fought malaria, we fought AIDS, and we actually saved a lot of lives. We actually kill people. Israel uses our money to kill people, not to save people. And so it has slaughtered now over 100,000 people just in this conflict alone, in Palestine, Lebanon, and in Iran. But our media goes, no, that's not a robbery. That's because they're our special ally.
Right.
What does that even mean?
They're not allies.
No, that's just them saying, we're gonna cover up the robbery so you don't notice, so that Israel can rob you even more. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
That's right. So last Republican I'll go to is John Bolton. Here's what he had to say when he was in absolute fear that there might be a peace deal between the US and Iran.
Well, I hope the negotiations break down, because every day that goes by is a gift to Iran. It gives them 24 more hours to recover from the pummeling they took during the 6 weeks of U.S. Israeli attack. It gives them time to try and reconstitute their government, which increasingly looks dysfunctional in decision-making capability. And it postpones the day of reckoning, ultimately, when the threat that they pose to control over the Strait of Hormuz is resolved in a way that they never come back and do it again. I think the ceasefire was a mistake. I think these negotiations are a mistake. I think we're on the verge of something that ultimately history will decide was a catastrophic loss for the United States. We have done significant damage to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and right now we're letting them undo the damage, and that is a real tragedy, not just for us, but for the people in the region too.
So the war criminal who cheerled the absolute destructive, devastating war against Iraq, how did that work out, is now giving us advice on what should be done in the war against Iran. And the same failures, Cenk, sorry to interrupt you, but the same failures over and over again, they just get laundered and their talking points get recycled. CNN is happy to have him. He's an expert. John Bolton, the warmonger, the failure who lied us into other wars that devastated our own country, put us into tremendous amounts of debt. His reputation laundered and invited back on cable news, invited back on to share his expert analysis as a loser, failure warmonger. Thanks, CNN, I appreciate it.
During the Iraq war, at every disastrous turn, John Bolton said, we just need to go a little further in.
Right, yeah.
If we go further in, then we'll get to victory. Now, after a decade, we never got to victory. We only got to more and more devastating loss for the American people. And he grinned throughout, and he loved it because it was on behalf of his benefactor, Israel. Now,
he's heard the phrase further in over and over again from the women in his life, but little did they know there wasn't much left to go in with.
Okay, all right, yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, there is that.
But I just want to go back to one quick thing that Anna said. So remember when mainstream media said after the Iraq war, we have learned our lesson. Well, okay, we got lied into that war, and well, we're never gonna make that lesson again, make that mistake again. Now they're like, oh, we have intelligence on weapons of mass destruction. Same exact lie as Iraq. And all the press is like, do you? Oh my God, Iran could have a nuke, Iran could have a nuke. This is all about the nukes. And then the same stupid liar who was 100% wrong about Iraq, they're like, bring him back on, bring him back on. Don't let anybody on that's for peace. But only the warmongers who we know are totally wrong and work for Israel, they're allowed back on so they could push for more war.
That's right.
Who made that decision as CNN?
Well, let's save a little bit of the heat for the Democratic side. Because if you're under the impression that it's just the Republicans that are cheerleading for more war against Iran, despite the fact that we've already lost and bombing Iran isn't really gonna accomplish anything, let's go to the Democrats. I actually wanna start off with, Cory Booker. Let's take a look, this is B3.
So we haven't had an official briefing, but this is what I'm seeing that has me so outraged right now, is the president said he went into this to deal with their nuclear program. This does not deal with that. Before he became president the first time, they had no highly enriched uranium. They had sent it out. Now they have it because of him. Number two is he criticized roundly that the deal that got rid of their nuclear program, or at least their highly enriched program, involved getting $50 billion for Iran. Well, already the president's balance sheet is letting more than $14 billion go through, that during this conflict he allowed them to sell oil. And this deal alone, easing of sanctions on Iran, allowing them to get billions of more, the same deal he criticized, he's already doing worse than. Giving Iran more money, as he has said, will allow them to do things like fuel their terrorist proxies. That's why this war is wrong. He's got us in a situation that's worse than it was before, a more extreme regime. The Strait of Hormuz now is a leveraging point for them. This weak nation has put America in a stalemate, and Donald Trump is being played as a fool that he is for getting us into this in the first place.
Now, if Jake Tapper was an actual journalist, he would ask a follow-up, right? And that follow-up would be, okay, I see what you're saying here. This isn't a deal that looks good for the US or for Israel, the country I actually care about. So what do you purport we do? What's the solution to this? Because you should want to know, well, what are the military options? Is there a military option to force open the Strait of Hormuz? Cory Booker hasn't even thought about that because it doesn't matter. What matters is the talking points that Israel hands to him along with the millions of dollars he takes in their bribes.
Or he could have asked them, wait, it sounds like you're saying you don't want a peace deal because you're saying we didn't destroy their nuclear program enough. We shouldn't unfreeze their assets. And that
it's
Donald
money,
Trump is
way.
being played for a fool if he makes this deal. So it sounds like you're against the peace deal. But Jake wouldn't want to clarify that because then you might find out Cory Booker works for Israel.
That's right.
And then you might find out Jake Tapper works for Israel. Okay, anyways, so in this case though, look at how, God, they're wonderfully sophisticated, and you're gonna see it in other clips too. Now, for the Democrats, the Israelis say your talking point is to say that Donald Trump is gonna look like an idiot if he does this deal. Oh, we haven't won yet, and he's gonna look like such a loser. Ha ha. Don't say that you're against the peace deal, because then they'll be on to you, right? Pretend you're for a peace generically, but torpedo this particular deal and rub it into Trump, and that'll help Israel. That is why, except for Ro Khanna, everyone on air, both Democrats and Republicans this weekend on cable news, were against the peace deal.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz is next. Let's go to B4.
I am concerned and frustrated over, again, another potential deal, a negotiation for a negotiation where we're going to unfreeze Iranian assets and give them billions of dollars to be able to control proxies again and to rebuild their ballistic missile program, never mind their drone program, which is incredibly deadly, and they've been increasing their drone capability. So this is deeply concerning. And look, I'm glad that Iran, their capability militarily has been degraded. But if what we get from this initial deal is just going back to where we were before, where Iran did not control the Strait of Hormuz, then what has been accomplished?
I'm not surprised at the commentary coming from the likes of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And you're right, Cenk. You just made a really good point about how none of these Democrats specifically are asked whether or not they'd like the war to end, whether or not they want a peace deal to begin with.
So the beginning of that interview, Debbie Wasserman Schultz says, "Now I'm for peace." And then she goes on to say what we just showed you. So a normal follow-up, if you're an actual reporter or anchor, would be, wait, you just said we have to destroy their not only not unfreeze their assets, which is part of the peace deal, so you're against the peace deal. And by the way, she said we'd be giving them billions of dollars. No, but wait, we're not giving them anything. We're unfreezing their assets, which we have effectively stolen at this point, right? We'd unsteal their money. Okay, but let's put that aside. I mean, that's asking for too much from a mainstream media anchor. They don't know anything about anything, so that like okay. But then she made it super clear. Plus, we haven't destroyed their ballistic missiles enough and their drones enough, and they still control their proxies. Wait a minute, that is the most hardcore right-wing Israeli position, that we have to continue the war until every drone is destroyed and Iran doesn't have their own foreign policy. Israel controls their foreign policy, hence they're not allowed. You know what another word for proxies is? Allies. So they're like, how dare Iran have its own sovereign allies? Israel must have their allies. But the anchor's like, okay. No follow-up questions from any of the CNN anchors as the Democrats make an argument for war that they are theoretically against. And yet none of the anchors noticed. That's amazing. That standard that Debbie Wasserman Schultz laid out is more extreme than Trump's standard.
We've got two more videos, one with an Israeli firster, the other with a Democrat who actually has the right take. Let's go to B5, this is Jake Auchincloss.
I'm actually gonna use the words of Republicans who have been weighing in the last 48 hours. 4 current senators, 2 former cabinet officials have said, the Ayatollahs will have won a significant victory. This is a disastrous mistake, not worth the paper it's written on, makes Iran a dominant force. Iran will hold all the cards and the straight. We are paying them to build a nuclear weapon and terrorize the world. Boris, that's Republicans who are trying to watch their words out of a sense of supplication to the president. What Democrats are saying is not fit for cable TV. This is a catastrophe. This has been Operation Epic Failure.
But did Auchincloss at all try to convince the administration to pump the brakes on a war with Iran, given the fact that all of these warnings were made about Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, Iran attacking US military bases in Gulf countries, Iran attacking oil and gas infrastructure in the Gulf countries in response to US attacks? These were all warnings ahead of the war starting. Was Auchincloss, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Cory Booker, were they raising alarm about that to prevent the war from starting in the first place?
The only Democrat I remember, no, 2 Democrats I remember fighting against it, Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders. The rest of them, well, conveniently couldn't be found. But the minute we have a potential peace deal, they're all over cable news.
All over cable news.
Oh, it's not good enough. We didn't destroy Iran enough. Trump's a fool if he signs this peace deal. By the way, you know what Auchincloss said later in the segment? That it would be unacceptable to vote for Graham Plattner. Wait, Graham Plattner is the Democratic nominee for the Senate in Maine. He's like, no, you should vote against him. You should vote for the Republican. Why? Graham Plattner doesn't work for Israel. So he wants his own Senate candidate to fail because his Israeli handlers have told him, this, who cares about your own stupid party or your stupid country? You serve us. And he's like, yes, Graham Plattner is a Nazi. I can't believe everyone who opposes Israel is a Nazi. Let's do more war for Israel, right? And you're gonna be shocked to find out, and I can't believe the CNN anchors didn't point this out, Auchincloss has gotten over $900,000 from the Israeli lobby.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't change anything.
Slight influence doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Not control at all. It's just a coincidence that all of the Democrats and all of the Republicans on air this weekend all wanted war that Israel wanted, except one.
Except one, yep. Let's hear what Ro Khanna had to say. This is the right take.
Do you support the negotiations with Iran right now?
I do. I appreciate the president is negotiating. I've said if he negotiates, I will support him. I'm not partisan in that way. I never thought we should have gone to a war in the first place. The question is he going to get a better deal than Obama? Obama had 97% of the enriched uranium out. Let's see what the details are. And is he going to get them to commit to not building or enriching any more uranium? But I've always been for a diplomatic solution, and I'm glad that the president finally seems to be rejecting the Lindsey Graham wing of the party and sitting down and trying to get this war to end.
Would you be supportive of a short-term deal that doesn't directly address the nuclear program but allows for more negotiations?
The answer to your question is yes. I do believe we need a negotiated deal. Thomas Massie and I, as he mentioned, actually had the Iran War Powers Act 2 months ago. We would have avoided this war. Food prices wouldn't have gone up. Gas prices wouldn't have gone up, and we could have done this negotiation. But I've always said that I would support negotiation, and it's time for this war to end.
So, and I just want to say two things. One, it's good to show those Ro Khanna clips because it shows you an alternative. Because otherwise you'd think like maybe you're not allowed to say it on television. It's illegal or something. They'll lock you up. Then you see Ro Khanna say it, you're like, oh yeah, no, you're allowed to say it. Like it kind of breaks the trance, right? Breaks the gaslighting. And isn't it amazing, guys, later when I don't know if Ro runs for president or not, but whoever runs for president, right now, the people that are mainstream media is talking about is all people who love Israel.
I know.
Right?
Of course.
And Ro they're all like, oh, Ro, yeah, right. The guy doing everything.
No, they'll
the guy doing everything the Democratic voters want. Who would vote for him? No one in Washington wants that.
Well, look, I don't know what he's planning on doing for the future of his political career, but they will try to bury him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wants peace.
Yeah.
And that's not what Israel wants, so. The media will bury him, or at least attempt to, but it's up to you to be savvier and not allow them to brainwash you or your loved ones into thinking that someone who actually wants peace and what's right for the American people is the enemy. Don't let them trick you. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll give you some updates on Lebanon.
All right, let's go to YouTube. I'm sorry, members on TOT.com. Carolina Blueprint. This is a really interesting one. It says 5-time Trump voter here. I assume primaries included. Millennial male from the South. A lot of my friends and I were some of the first Trump supporters in 2015, and trust me, he has completely lost his base. I don't care what any poll says. The people surrounding him now were all the original Never Trump crowd. The Uniparty is alive and thriving in DC. Before I finish, it is factual that Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, etc. were all never Trumpers. Why were they never Trumpers in the first place? Because they thought Trump was too unstable. They need someone who will follow orders strictly and not veer from them at all. They need someone super dumb and pliable, but Trump jumped the shark on stupidity and can't be controlled. So that's why they were worried about him. But then the blackmail came in my opinion, and they're like, oh, good, we got doggy under a leash. Anyways, Carolina Blueprint continues. Now, a lot of us are watching TYT. You two are building a real populist community. Keep doing what you're doing and don't stop the fight. And they're a YouTube member, a member on TYT.com now. I love that. I love that. Yes, this is real populism here. No BS from the Democrats and kissing their ass for no reason, like a lot of other ass kissers do. Oh, vote blue no matter who. Oh, blue. Blue for what? Blue for what? Did they ever do anything we asked them to do? Bunch of liars. Anyway, but great to have you here. As Most Prophet says, Netanyahu's never gonna stop the war. If the war stops, his corruption trial starts and he goes to jail. Doesn't matter. None of the Israelis are gonna ever stop the war. Naftali Bennett's for even more war. Almost all the candidates are for more war because that's what Israel is. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. I just want to read one comment from a member on TYT.com because I think this is a really interesting point. Cenk's Tricep of Fury, which is a funny handle, says, my whole life I grew up with people telling me there will never be peace in the Middle East. I had no idea it was because Israel never wanted peace. In fact, brother, you just triggered a thought for me. Since I now realize in hindsight, almost everything that mainstream media told us my whole life was Israeli propaganda. that as Israel kept expanding its territory, they were the victims, etc. Oh, that line about there'll never be peace in the Middle East, that's also Israeli propaganda. Because if you get pessimistic and you think, oh, it's okay, endless war is normal in the Middle East, then you'll come to accept the endless war. Why does Israel want endless war? Because it's a settler colony. So in order to expand its territory, when it's a tiny percentage of the people there originally, it has to conquer more land, so it needs more war. So then they do the propaganda, oh, don't worry, there'll never be peace in the Middle East. Okay, everything is Israeli propaganda. All right, Anna.
In fact, I got to do a deep dive on Jasmine Crockett tomorrow. Just a little taste. Andrew Perez, journalist, says a new wrinkle to the crypto election buying. Jasmine Crockett taped an ad for a crypto super PAC to help the industry take out her Democratic colleague, Al Green.
Yeah, no,
She's a
I've heard enough.
Person. She's a horrible person.
No, Jasmine Crockett is a cutout for the donor class. In fact, all that identity politics she does is to divide you so that the donor class can win. But we'll have more on that in a little bit.
Snaps to that, Uyghur, snaps to that.
Yeah.
Just be aware of that little trick that corporate Democrats play. Anyway, let's get to Lebanon. Israel has vowed to intensify their strikes in southern Lebanon while pretending like they're fighting Hezbollah, when in reality they're trying to annex land. They're destroying civilian infrastructure and killing civilians, of course, Israel's specialty. I mean, do they excel at anything other than that? And this was, of course, their response to Trump pretending like he was going to sign a peace deal with Iran. That never came to fruition because it was never real. But Cenk, I want to get your 2 cents before I go in on this story.
Yeah, so I think that some of the places that they've bombed are particularly heinous. I think the fact that they declare that they're never going to stop attacking Lebanon is deeply problematic. And after Anna gives you the receipts on all the things I just promised you, I want to explain why that is such a huge ramification for America and the broader war at hand.
So Netanyahu pretends like he's going after the boogeymen, right? In this case, the resistance, Hezbollah, which is really the only entity within Lebanon attempting to protect its borders. The Lebanese government is doing nothing. They're engaging in ceasefire talks with Israel. It's going nowhere because the Lebanese government is incredibly weak and doesn't care as much about protecting their own people. It's just the facts of the situation on the ground. Now, Hezbollah said on Tuesday it had targeted Israeli forces advancing toward the southern Lebanese town of Zatar al-Sharikia with explosive drones, rockets, and artillery, while the Israeli military struck several towns in southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley and issued new evacuation warnings. I want to be very clear that it's not just southern Lebanon that Israel is targeting, and I'm going to show you the receipts to that in just a moment. But this morning, the IDF said that they struck more than 100 Hezbollah infrastructure sites and terrorists. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. While Netanyahu claimed that the IDF eliminated over 600 terrorists in the last few weeks. By the way, let me just note, they have signed a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. Usually what happens in a ceasefire is you cease fire, including ceasing fire against your enemies, in this case, Hezbollah. But anyway, so let's just talk really quickly about what Israel thinks counts as Hezbollah infrastructure, okay? Let's take a look at this video. Keep my mic up, I'll explain what you're looking at. So Middle East Observer and some Western journalists, in fact, confirmed that Israel bombed the Warun Dam in Bekaa, which contains a large amount of drinking water. And if that dam fails, you want to know what happens? Villages get flooded, people die, civilians die. Also destroying the water infrastructure means denying people access to clean drinking water, which Israel also excels at, as we've learned in Gaza. So is that Hezbollah? Is that what we were looking at right there? Was that dam Hezbollah? Is that dam terrorizing the precious Israelis?
Self-defense, Anna.
These people are scum. Scum.
If you don't destroy the drinking water and endanger the civilians of Lebanon, how could you possibly defend yourself? As Golda Meir legendarily said, will never forgive the Palestinians for making us kill their children.
They never take responsibility for who they are and what they are.
Because they have an entitlement complex that they're allowed to murder all their neighbors.
Yep.
They have a victimhood complex that says, oh, we're all gonna die unless we murder them first.
I have never seen a group of people weaponize a historic tragedy like the Israelis do. They have cheapened the Holocaust with their weaponization of it in order to do to Arabs what the Nazis did to the Jews, okay? They're disgusting people. But let me continue. Israel shows no signs of slowing down. Let's go to the next video. Here's another example. There we go.
A massacre destroyed a house in my village, Dwyer, right now. The house had 2 women in it, only. 2 women, 2 old women. Their brother is our friend, and he's a civil defense worker. And he lost both of his sisters in the attack. I cannot say anything, actually. It's a very tough moment, a very, very painful moment to go with your friend and to arrive to find his house destroyed with his 2 old sisters in it, martyred. This is America.
You Americans proud of that? You proud of that? You proud of killing the 2 elderly women in that house? Was that Hezbollah, Israel? Was that Hezbollah? You feel safer? They're such liars. They're such liars. Oh, we feel so unsafe.
Yeah.
You feel unsafe? How many of your residential buildings with elderly people are being bombed right now? They're such precious victims, such precious. One more example, Cenk, because I want to read what Smotrich said about people in Lebanon. So he said that for every drone strike that Hezbollah carries out against IDF soldiers who are occupying their land, by the way, and attempting to steal their land, every drone strike will result in 10 residential buildings being bombed by the Israelis. Smotrich said that. So explain to me how that's targeting Hezbollah. They are intentionally targeting civilians. They did it in Gaza, they're doing it in Lebanon, they did it in Iran. They're gonna keep doing it over and over again as long as our corporate media continues providing cover for it and lying to the American people about the reality. But the American people should be smarter than that, and they should know the truth. And the truth is, they are not targeting Hezbollah. They are targeting civilians intentionally. They are destroying entire villages. They're demolishing entire villages. Take a look at the before and after images of Gaza, which has been completely leveled. So you're telling me that Hamas was using every single building in Gaza as a human shield? Every single one? Think for yourselves, please, for the love of God, please think for yourselves. We have blood on our hands as we sit idly by and help our government fund the atrocities that Israel is carrying out right now. Don't be duped by modern day Nazis. They are not going after terrorists, they are trying to expand their borders. That's what this is. That's what this is.
They are the terrorists. So let's show you the Smotrich clip and then I want to comment on it.
אני אמרתי בצורה חד משמעית לכל השבועות האחרונים, ואמרתי את זה גם אתמול בקולי. במקביל להשקעה תקציבית גדולה מאוד בפתרונות טכנולוגיים ואחרים להגנה מפני איום הרחפנים, רחפני הנפץ האלה עם הסיב, הדרך הטובה והמהירה והיעילה ביותר להפסיק אותם, זה פשוט להודיע שעל כל רחפן יורדים 10 בניינים בביירות. ואם היו 7, אז 70. ואם 15, אז 150. ואם יגמרו הבניינים בביירות, אז נעבור לצור ולצידון ולבקע, ונגבה מחירים כאלה בלתי אפשריים מבחינת האויב, כדי להפסיק לחלוטין את הירי הן לעבר חיילינו ולוחמינו הגיבורים, והן לעבר יישובינו.
Okay, so for our audio podcast listeners, he said for every Israeli soldier they attack in Lebanon, we are going to destroy 10 buildings in Beirut. So if they attack 7 soldiers, we'll destroy 70 buildings. And then he listed a number of Lebanese cities in which they would do bombings. So let's break that down a little bit. Number one, so wait a minute, those are attacks against IDF soldiers in Lebanon. So what he's saying is the Lebanese are not allowed to defend themselves. We can walk into their country, we could tape ourselves stealing things from their homes and publish it worldwide, which they have. Then we could destroy their homes. Then we could say this is now our land and it's now part of Israel. And if you dare fight back, we'll call you a terrorist. And then like actual terrorists, we will bomb 10 buildings in Beirut that have nothing to do with Hezbollah. So we will murder your civilians unless you give us complete and unconditional surrender. Only Israel has a right to defend itself, and in its self-defense, it could take other people's land and murder their families. But we are not to be called terrorists. You defending your actual land, your actual home. If you defend your actual home, we will get the disgusting liars in American media who we utterly own to call them terrorists for defending their home. We'll say, oh, they're dirty Muslims. And oh yeah, by the way, they're also Christians in Lebanon. Dirty Christians, anti-Semites defending their own homes. Don't they know that if they weren't anti-Semites, they would let us slaughter their families and thank us for it? And they would hand over their territory? Well, I guess we're gonna have to kill 10 times more the civilians as soldiers they are attacking that are on their land and inside their homes.
Yeah.
So there is no question who the terrorists are. One of the top 3 government officials in Israel just told you they are the terrorists. Yeah. The Israelis are indisputably the terrorists. And you just saw it with your own eyes. And every liar in mainstream media in America will tell you, no, the Arabs are the terrorists. The Muslims and the Christians are the terrorists. The Israelis are God's chosen people. Beloved Israel, and they're the victims. And by the way, you owe them money. Give all of your money to them so these terrorists can murder innocent people in Lebanon. And if they're Christians and you're a Christian, shut up, anti-Semite.
So the Israelis are now occupying over 60% of the Gaza Strip because that was the plan all along. Taking the land was the plan all along, which is why the Israeli government was warned ahead of time, a year in advance, that Hamas was planning to take hostages. And they surprisingly decided to ignore that intelligence. Gee, I wonder why. It took hours for IDF soldiers to respond. Some IDF soldiers claimed that they were given stand down orders, but that can't be investigated, God forbid. It's on camera, it's on camera. The whole plan was to take the land. They're working on it right now as we speak. They went from taking 54% of the Gaza Strip to now upward of 64% of the Gaza Strip. Okay, fantastic.
And quoting IDF soldiers is anti-Semitic.
Great. Then I guess I'm the biggest one in the world because I like to quote what they're actually saying. When people tell you who they are, I choose to believe them. So they're doing the same thing in Lebanon now. Remember when they pretended like, we feel so unsafe, so we need to take Lebanese land to build a safety buffer zone, right? Okay, let's take a look at graphic 2. Journalist Ahmed Shahab Eldin says, Israel's Channel 12 reports Israeli forces have crossed the yellow line in Lebanon, the ceasefire boundary that until now marked the outer limit of Israeli ground presence since 2006. With diplomacy stalling, US strikes on Iran underway, and Washington firmly behind Netanyahu, Israel appears to be testing how much further the war can expand under the language of security operations. The line was supposed to contain the war. Now it is proof that containment failed because it was never about containment, homeboy. You know that. I just want people to stop pretending like they're surprised. Why are you pretending like you're surprised? The thing in Lebanon is all about taking more land. Why are we pretending like the Israelis are actually worried about their safety? If they were worried about their safety, they would have taken that intelligence a year before October 7th happened seriously, but they didn't, did they? Because they're not worried about their safety. They're not worried about Iran's nuclear weapons, which don't exist. They're not really genuinely concerned about Hezbollah. We're talking about Israel, a nuclear power that is backed by a military superpower. We give them 2,000-pound bombs to drop on little kids' heads. Okay, they pretend like they're worried about their safety. The entire globe should be worried about their safety with Israel's existence in the form that it exists right now, which is a terror state, a genocidal terror state.
That has captured the biggest military in world history. They occupy not just the Palestinians, but the Americans. So they have access to our entire military and they order us around. I mean, this weekend, it looked like for a second we were gonna do a peace deal. The Israelis said, who the hell do you think you are? Back into the war, servants. And we went right back into the war. And the entire time, the American media has been telling us that the terrorists are the victims and that the victims are the terrorists. They have lied to us in mass in a way that is infuriating. And when all the American people find out how mainstream media worked for Israel and did propaganda to help fund the terrorists that have been terrorizing the Middle East for the last 60 years at a minimum, I think that there's going to be a great fury in this country.
Their war crimes are so brazen that even Murdoch-owned Sky News had no choice but to report on it. Just a headline, let's go to graphic 7 here. Shocking video shows moment paramedics are hit by Israelis in double tap strike. So they keep killing paramedics and medical workers because that's what Israel does. An Israeli strike captured on camera has killed 3 paramedics in Lebanon. Just 12 hours earlier, 4 other medics were killed. Since the war between Israel and Hezbollah resumed in March, 123 medics in Lebanon have been killed in Israeli attacks because they're terrorists. Okay, they kill doctors, they kill paramedics, they do double tap strikes. These are war crimes. But war crimes mean nothing when you live in an international community that aids and abets the treachery of a genocidal terrorist state like Israel.
And one more thing for me on that. So my whole life, I had liars pretending to be reporters tell me, and they convinced me. And that's part of why I'm so angry, is because I was brainwashed by Israeli Hasbara pretending to be American news. They told us, well, no, the Palestinians, they intentionally target civilians. That's why they're such terrible, disgusting terrorists. Now, they didn't say, by the way, Hamas killed 1/3 of the people they killed were soldiers. Now, I condemn them. 2/3 is terrible for civilians. Now, Israel's civilian kill ratio is 83%. No one on cable news has ever stated that fact, even though it comes from the IDF itself, okay? But they say, no, we can't let Americans find out the Israelis are the terrorists. They have a civilian kill ratio worse than Hamas, worse than Hezbollah, worse than Al Qaeda, okay? But shush, we must protect the terrorists. But on top of that now, we have double taps. Well, a double tap by definition is intentionally murdering civilians.
That's exactly right.
In fact, it's intentionally murdering medical workers and doctors, the best people on earth who come to great danger to their lives, save others who have been injured, almost always civilians who have been injured. And Israel murders them on purpose, and yet not a single mainstream media reporter has applied the label terrorist to Israel when they are indisputably, empirically bigger terrorists than anyone that our media has called terrorists. And now they're doing indisputable terrorism on medical workers, and yet the dogs in our American media lie to you every single day and go, no, the terrorists are the victims and the victims are the terrorists.
The Ellisons aren't snatching up media outlets for nothing. So we gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about how the Trump administration is laughing in our faces as the global economy tanks through their actions.
Hey Andrew, what's up?
Hey Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang, of course I have good service.
All right, let's try. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait, should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh, yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is gonna save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm gonna do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The 2 buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was gonna be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that. Here you go, phone, yeah.
What the f? Jank, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mode.
It was really just one take. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoe. It's in my shoes. Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT. The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the Young Turks, which is my favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Tank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. So listen, we try to do unbiased news here, and we, like anyone else, trying to show you the wrong framing and the bias of others. So that's why we like ground news. So if you want to know what's really going on, you got to be able to see this, how the story is being framed. That's why I'm recommending ground news to you guys. It's an app and a website. It pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum, so you can compare the coverage in one place. You can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets reporting on it. All of it's super useful. If you want to stay informed without getting played by the media spin, I think ground news is a really valuable tool. So go to ground.news/TYT, ground.news/TYT, or scan that QR code you're seeing on the screen. And using our link gets you 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. So make sure you're getting that 40% off. All right, Anna, what's next?
Let's check in with the economy, shall we?
The thing that I've seen when I look at credit card data and other things that I can get for the private sector is that while people have been spending more money at gas stations, they've been spending more money at everything else, which means that they're still very, very optimistic about the state of the economy, and they should be. If you look at GDP now, right now, it's north of 4%. And so despite this disruption, all the momentum that we built with the big, beautiful bill and AI and everything else is really, what the main economic story of the U.S. is.
Could it be that they're charging more on their credit cards because they literally can't afford the inflation that's making everything a lot more expensive under the Trump administration because he decided to start a war against Iran? They closed the Strait of the Hormuz, cutting off 20% of the globe's oil and gas supply, which makes the cost of energy rise, which then has a trickle-down effect on the rest of the economy. Could it be that? But Kevin Hasan, Cenk, he's the current National Economic Council Director for the Trump administration. He thinks that things are going great.
And he's bragging about how, people are spending more on everything they buy. Yeah, that's called inflation, bro.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. But in a minute, I'm going to give you some stats to prove what a liar Kevin Hasan is. And they are amazing to the point of being amusing. All right, Anna, give us more receipts first.
I'm just gonna do a little spoiler alert right off the bat. I am not amused by any of this. I'm infuriated, and I don't know how others aren't as infuriated as I am, because we are literally paying more for everything in order to fight a war on behalf of a foreign country. Okay, that's what's happening right now. And they're trying to spin it, and Hasan is failing miserably at it. So in the same interview, Hasan went on to push back against some recent polling from the University of Michigan that shows how consumer sentiment or consumer confidence has cratered recently. Take a look.
We find that basically the consumer sentiment indicator at the University of Michigan is just a political survey. And in fact, the correlation between what independents say and Democrats say is 0.8 or 0.9. It's almost exactly perfectly correlated. And so what they've done is they've somehow devised a political survey that tells us how Democrats are feeling about things.
First of all, it's not a political survey that only focuses on one party. It would have absolutely no credibility if that were the case. But just the whole notion that this is discredited because it's merely a political survey, isn't that what all polls are?
So, and what he's doing is now Republicans and independents are as frustrated as Democrats. So he's doing a little sleight of hand there to say, well, they must have only asked Democrats.
Guys.
No, they literally, you just told us they asked Democrats and Republicans. They agree because the economy sucks.
Yes, exactly. By the way, okay, so we've got incredibly intelligent listeners who are already privy to this, but just in case, this is a perfect example of how the Uniparty uses the language of partisan politics to dupe you. So in this case, if you are a Republican voter, what he just said is meant to dupe you into thinking, no, actually the economy is doing really well. This survey is just Democrats complaining, and I hate Democrats. You should hate the people who are picking your pockets to fund a war on behalf of a foreign country, because that's what's happening right now. Okay, so let me continue. Within minutes of Hasan directing people to look at the conference board's findings, as they would be more accurate in regard to consumer sentiment, the conference board dropped its report saying this. Take a look.
Consumer confidence report today says U.S. consumer sentiment is lower in May than it was last month. Experts point to consumers' concerns about rising costs of prices and everyday goods across the board due to instability in the Middle East. The report comes at a time when more than 75% of Americans say the economy's in bad shape. While Wall Street has scored some major wins, Americans are stretching their paychecks and they feel a disconnect.
Just in case you don't know, 77% of Americans are not Democrats. So when 77% of Americans have bad feelings about the economy, it means both Democrats and Republicans are saying that the economy is bad and not good. Just in case Hasan needs someone to decode this for him, the expert on the economy.
So let me throw more numbers at the smiling fool. And the way he does it is so absurd. Everything everything's going great. I mean, but bro, they're still gonna go to the grocery store and the gas station and they're gonna see the prices, and no matter how much you smile like an idiot, it's not gonna help. So here are the devastating numbers. He said, oh, people are so confident, that's why they're spending so much. The economic consumer confidence index is at negative 45%.
Things are going great.
Negative 45%.
Fantastic.
Okay, so how many people think the country's going in the wrong direction economically? 68%. Happy to find out that 68% of the country is hardcore Democrats, apparently. And how many people think that the economy is in excellent or just good shape? Just good. Only 16%.
Things are going great, Jake. I don't know about you. I'm super jazzed. Economy's doing well.
It's going great. We got 60% locked up. Those idiots will think that higher prices are a good thing.
They legit think the American people are stupid. Okay, that's why this is not a partisan thing. Both parties insult you. They insult your intelligence, and you shouldn't let them. So, by the way, the report, I want to get into the granular numbers here. From the very report that Hasan said we should be paying attention to, right? This is the Conference Board's report on consumer sentiment. They found that the confidence index dipped 0.7 points to 93.1 in May, down from an upwardly revised 93.8 in April. The present situation index, based on consumers' assessment of current business and labor market conditions, retreated by 3.2 points to 121.2. So the numbers directly correlate with the war against Iran. And to be sure, they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Again, 20% of the globe's oil and liquefied natural gas is transited through that strait. So we have less supply, same demand, which means prices go up. And higher costs for energy trickles down to higher costs for goods and services. And we're experiencing that already, at least the beginning phases of that. So Dana Peterson, who happens to be the Conference Board's chief economist, says this: consumer confidence edged downward in May as the inflationary impacts of the war in the Middle East intensified. Consumer appraisals of current business conditions and the current labor market were moderately less positive compared to last month. Further, she says, this is somewhat offset by modest improvement in consumers' expectations for business conditions and the labor market 6 months from now, meaning people think that 6 months from now things will get better. They've got another thing coming.
I don't know where she's getting that from either, by the way.
Meanwhile, income expectations eased in May as those anticipating less income rose.
Look, I'll say one quick last thing here. I don't trust anybody from Wall Street anymore, because I mean, guys like Andrew Ross Sorkin are talking about we're gonna have a Great Depression style crash coming soon, right? And I agree with him. And so I'll give him credit, right? So he's one guy who covers Wall Street on CNBC, and I think he's getting it right in that particular case. Everyone else, they're like, yeah, every day the stock market breaks a new record. And these morons keep buying. Maybe they're not morons. Maybe they know something we don't, where they're just gonna pump it up and then they're all gonna get out first, and then it's gonna crash and they're gonna rebuy. And I get it. That's a trick that's been used many times before. Yep. And but the average guy is going to get slaughtered when this crash happens, right? Your 401ks are the suckers at the table. They got no one. You got no one defending you. Whereas like the top guys on Wall Street are maniacal, understandably so, about protecting their own money. And so they're just this is going to be one of the greatest robberies in American history. You're gonna lose so much value. But to this moment, everybody in Wall Street's like, everything is great. There's no war. The war's not gonna cost us anything. The economy's fantastic. They're in la la land.
So for our listeners who are older, who are thinking about retiring soon, please reach out to a fiduciary, not a broker, a fiduciary, and just ask for some advice on what to do to protect yourself, right? Because if you don't need that money soon, you buy and you hold, you can't really time the market. Like that's my take. And I'm not a professional, don't take my advice if you don't want to. Please reach out to a fiduciary, because I am worried about soon to be retirees losing a huge portion of their nest egg just as they're about to retire.
Yeah, and then you know what they'll say at the end. no one could have seen this coming.
All right, let's get to our next story. God, it breaks my heart what's happening to our country right now. Let's talk about Hasan Piker, your nephew, because there's a weird story developing, and I think it's meant to silence people who are critical of Israel. So let's get into it.
And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's not great. The news is not great, okay? I mean, it's bull, but still not great that, you know, they're after your boy. They're up my ass.
Some might argue that Hasan Piker's biggest crime is it appears he's borrowing his uncle's jacket, but no, it's not Cenk Uyghur's jacket. What Haas is worried about here is a Fox News report that erroneously claimed that Hasan Piker and the Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin had been served with federal subpoenas over a recent trip they took to Cuba for humanitarian purposes, which we'll get into in just a minute. But Cenk, has your nephew been served with a federal subpoena?
No, not yet. So we're gonna find out if Fox News is doing this on purpose, and what exactly is that purpose? I have a theory as to why they put out this story when they did, and then there's a surprising twist here with a Democrat attacking Hasan that you might not have expected. So I'm looking forward to that part of the story as well.
So let's get into what Fox News Digital reported, right? And again, I say erroneously because both Medea Benjamin and Hasan Piker have said that they have not been officially served with any subpoena. But nonetheless, Fox News reported that federal officials have served subpoenas to political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into whether US organizations and leaders violated US laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime. Piker and Benjamin are among those caught in a federal inquiry into whether activists who traveled to Cuba in March violated US sanctions laws through the financing, coordination, or delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with Cuban government personnel or entities on the island. Now, before I continue, let me just note, if you are a reporter, a journalist, you are able to go to Cuba, yes, even as an American citizen, to cover what's happening in Cuba. There are sanctioned hotels that are run by the Cuban government, which is why they are listed as hotels you're not allowed to stay in if you do go to Cuba. But interestingly enough, Medea Benjamin, who has actually done this before, and Hasan Piker didn't stay at a sanctioned hotel. There was a claim by some random person on X that they did stay at a sanctioned hotel. And apparently people just ran with it as if it's the truth without actually looking into it. So they were allegedly served administrative subpoenas, which again, erroneous, like they weren't served anything yet, they might be. But the administrative subpoenas are known as requests for information by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. As Newsweek reports, US sanctions on Cuba, mainly under the Cuban Assets Control regulations, prohibit most economic dealings with US citizens with Cuba unless licensed, with some exceptions for journalism, humanitarian projects, educational programs, and activities to support the Cuban people. God forbid we support the Cuban people that the US government is intentionally starving to death. And now during his live stream yesterday, Haas stated everything had originally been cleared by the United States Treasury. However, both Hasan and Benjamin have both stated that they have not been physically served. I just want to repeat that again. Let's take a look at the video.
On the other hand, got a text message, or rather a voicemail, from a Fox News producer saying that I had been subpoenaed by the federal government. And I was like, that's strange. Asking for comment. And before I could even respond to the journalist, an article materialized on the timeline.
I talked to both of them. Neither has been subpoenaed. And so the Fox News report is just factually incorrect. Like, if you're gonna subpoena somebody, you subpoena them.
Right, so you have not been served by the federal government. They have not been served by the federal government.
I should note that Ryan Grimm also went on this trip. He wasn't mentioned at all in Fox News's erroneous reporting. However, I just want to note a few other things about the convoy that was part of this humanitarian mission. It's named Nuestra America Convoy. And apparently the Cuban government gave the convoy its blessing in delivering humanitarian aid. But why is our government concerned? What is this really about? So some of the organizations who were leaders of the convoy were part of something known as the Signam Network, which is led by Neville Roy Signam or Sigam. I don't know anything about this person, but according to Fox News Digital, they're claiming that Sigham has pumped $278 million into nonprofit groups that have pushed pro-China, pro-Cuba, anti-US narratives and street protests for almost a decade. Since his marriage in February 2017 to Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans, who is also being investigated for her role in the March trip. Code Pink received $1.33 million from this organization after he married Evans. Now that's Fox Digital reporting that, and you should take it with a grain of salt because again, they erroneously reported that the federal government already subpoenaed Medea Benjamin and Hasan Piker when that's obviously not true. So
yeah, so I wouldn't believe a word of what they're writing because they're not journalists. It's over the top absurdity. So in fact, I'm going to prove that to you. In the middle of this serious article about sanctions being violated that we're all Americans are so concerned about, literally no Americans are concerned about it. And when Nick Shirley did it, no Americans were concerned about it, and he actually did it.
Nick Shirley actually stayed at a sanctioned Cuban hotel.
Okay. So, oops, but no, Fox News wasn't concerned about that. But in the midst of this theoretically serious article, then they get into this super long paragraph. I'll only read half of it to you. Fox News Digital recently observed Piker outside his Los Angeles home, escorting his dog Kaya. Oh no, this seems very important. Outside the house for a bathroom break early one morning. Now we're talking about his dog's bathroom breaks? They continue. Kaya, a large breed dog that is a mix of Tibetan Mastiff, Chow Chow, and St. Bernard. Why do we care? Why is this in the story? This is insanity, right? So I'm going to tell you the purposes behind this article after I'm done with this.
Did Laura Loomer eat Hasan Piker's dog food? Asking for a friend. I mean, that should be investigated. I heard the bitch really loves dog food.
Okay, I don't. But this is insane. All right, they continue. At one moment, Piker silently stood over Kaya and gestured with a finger for her to return to the house after relieving herself. Why is this in a news article? This is so ludicrous. Hey, go back in, he said. Okay, and then lastly, later, Kaya was observed being walked and driven by a woman leaving Piker's home. Why do we need to play-by-play on what Kaya did while relieving himself?
This is psychotic.
Or herself, okay, psychotic.
Asra Nomani, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
You wrote you wrote this, what are you doing with your life? Did you sit outside of his place?
Yes,
to watch?
She has pictures.
That's psycho. That's that's psycho behavior.
A little personal thing here. The next day, my daughter and my sister and my mom were set to go to Haas's house. My daughter had baked cookies and they were gonna do so. Haas wasn't even there. They're just, we're gonna watch a movie and stuff. And they had to plan around whether a psychotic journalist was going to pop out of the bushes and take notes on people's bathroom breaks.
Psychos.
Like it's insanity, right? Okay, so what is the purpose behind this weird attack on a thing that hasn't even happened? So number one, you smear Hasan in every way you can, and Code Pink, but they're both opposed to Israel. So they must be smeared. This has nothing to do with Cuba. Nobody in Fox News Digital cares about Cuba. Nobody cares about Cuba in the country. I wish they did because we're starving the Cubans. So wait, the people who are guilty were the ones who were open-hearted enough to go try to help starving Cubans. And they're the bad guys? Because you tried to search for a technicality against them that hasn't been applied in like decades and couldn't even find one, right? So you got to smear them because they're good people who need to be destroyed and have their character assassinated. Number two, it's intimidation.
100%.
We're going, hey, we're buying your house. We're looking at you at all times.
Totally, okay. That's why.
And you better not have your cousin come over or your grandmother or your mom or whoever, because we're watching you at all times. If you oppose Israel, I meant Cuba, right?
You can come watch me walk my dog, bitch.
Yeah.
Any day.
So
all day.
But there's a third reason, guys. and this is the important one. No, by the way, do not do that. You will be, be careful. Okay, Anna's not playing. Okay, anyways, so the third reason is testing the waters. What if we start taking political prisoners? Will there be a lot of pushback or only a little pushback? And you know what we could start with? The Code Pink ladies, who everyone in mainstream media makes fun of all the time. Look at them, they're in favor of war. Let's call them anti-Semites, like half of them are Jewish. But anyway, they're like, it doesn't matter. Let's destroy them, let's destroy their character. They want peace, right? So, some of them have money. Oh, well, you didn't notice all the AIPAC money, but you're noticing money that Code Pink has? Maybe, theoretically, through marriage?
Thugs.
Oh, come on.
Total thugs.
Come on. Oh, where is the Israeli lobby money? I don't know, I've never written about it. It's over $1 billion, I can't find it. Where's Kaya? Okay, anyways, and then the second target is Haas, and they're like, well, remember, a lot of the right wing hate him, so he's a good place to start. So now we've lost a lot of our base there thinking, because they now also hate Israel. If we go with someone that is more liked on the right, then you could have people rallying, right, around them. We don't want them rallying. So let's take a guy like Hasan, who's, that a lot of the right wing hate and some independents don't like, isolate him and just see if we can make him a political prisoner and see if anyone objects. And if they don't object to Code Pink and Hasan, then we'll move on to Cenk and Anna, we'll move on to Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey. We'll just keep taking political prisoners. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant about Cuba, wink, okay. So, and I'm just gonna note the irony here, that a rando Democratic candidate like a week ago said something about imprisoning Zionists who are actively Israeli assets and breaking the law by working with the Israeli government. And all of national media freaked out. Oh my God, they might imprison Zionists who are wicked, who in that case would be working for a foreign company. Anyway, we don't want that. That's just a rando, and they made a giant deal out of it, right? Now, that's theoretical from a candidate that hasn't won.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yep.
They're gonna take political prisoners of people who are trying to feed starving human beings, and nobody flips out. Mainstream media hasn't said a word about it other than Hasan Piker is a misogynist, anti-Semite, disqualify him, right? So what, aren't you outraged that anti-Zionists might be imprisoned? And by the way, including Jewish Americans who are for peace. Aren't you outraged by that? Nope, don't care at all. Don't care at all, right? So, but you didn't have to test the waters on that. Mainstream media would love it if they took political prisoners on behalf of Israel, because mainstream media works for Israel. So they'll find a reason. Oh, they were terrorists trying to feed starving people. Really, are we gonna really write that? What, write about Kaya? Oh, okay, yeah, and Kaya took the wrong kind of pee break.
Dude. Psycho, total psycho behavior.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're testing the waters, I will go on every show. It doesn't matter that it's my nephew, I would do it for anyone. Okay?
Yeah, same.
I will go on every right-wing show.
I don't even like your nephew. I will also do the same.
I will go on every right-wing show, every left-wing show. I will go on every independent show and scream from the rooftops about how Israel is taking political prisoners inside this country, because that would be a fact. And if you do it, okay, let's see. Maybe you're right. Maybe all of America is neutered, and we're gonna surrender to the Israelis. And we're not gonna mind you putting us in prison for criticizing a foreign, disgusting terrorist government, right? But my guess is that the Americans are not going to be in favor of that, even if you picked Hasan and Code Pink. That at some point, we're all gonna rally and we're gonna find out who's keeping all of us as prisoners.
I don't know, Americans love to lay around and get abused by our government over and over again. So I don't know what they're willing to take, because they've taken a lot of crap already. So we gotta take a break, we'll be right back.
All right, guys, let's go to Twitch. Progressive Entropy writes in, as always, I'm thankful for TYT and them always bring the facts and truth when it's hard to hear. Love you all and keep up the great work. Thank you for caring about it, and we appreciate you for being here and for allowing us to do this. Canadian Skull Dragon says, these are the people in charge who are so cooked. At TYT, Pendragon Fruit says, I guess Israel bombed the Qoran Dam area in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. That's what we showed earlier. They wrote this in before that. I shouldn't be surprised. I just want to hear news of a bullet bill-sized bomb hitting Israel. You're not allowed to root for that. The Israelis are allowed to root for murdering people in Lebanon and Gaza and West Bank and Iran. You're not allowed to root against Israel. Otherwise, you might be literally in prison in this country. Nick Mudar says, silly progressive Kana isn't electable. Only centrist Dems like Kamala win elections. Progressives have such silly notions. In fact, that's going to get us to the Democrat when we come back from the show that was opposing Hasan. Dave Gustavo says, and of course Nick's being sarcastic, but that is exactly what mainstream media will say. He's right. Dave Gustavo writes, a YouTube member, oh my God, more war. Not that surprised with Trump and Keg's breath. Elro Independent says the US will lose at least 2 games in the World Cup group stage. I like that random insertion in there. Kyle writes in, the show just started and Anna's already swinging. That was earlier, obviously. Martinis Holt says we got to vote these criminals out. Yes, vote against all the incumbents. If mainstream media is telling you incumbents have great experience, that means you should vote against incumbents. All right, I'm out of time. We'll be right back. All right, back on TYT, Jen and Anna with you guys. Thank you to everybody who supports the show. You can join through the join button below, but you could also just ring the bell and keep up with the show. That's really important and helps us. We appreciate it. I'm gonna answer just one quick question from Super Chat here. Lowe's24 says, Cenk, you know Pacman well. Have you spoken to him about why he refused to cover the Israeli lobby? No, I haven't. And here's what I'm gonna tell you guys. Guys, we have so many bad guys in the world. Don't focus on people who haven't covered stuff. Okay, so Pacman's a good guy. Maybe, I don't know what his opinion on that is, but I don't care, okay? There are so many bad guys out there. Don't needlessly attack one another, which is gonna bring us to the last.
By the way, no, my commentary is a little bit different. You want to attack away. I don't want to waste any time on this show doing what other left-wing shows like to do, which is spur more infighting and conflict that leads to nothing good. Okay, I want to focus on the issues, focus on what we're doing, and I'm going to be super principled about it. That's what we do here. Yeah. You want, inter-left-wing conflict and drama. There's all sorts of shows out there for you, but I want to focus on the issues. So let's get back to.
Speaking of division.
Yeah, speaking of division. So Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, interestingly, weighed in on the threats by the federal government toward Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin for allegedly traveling to Cuba on a humanitarian mission. We think it's really about their criticism of Israel that's made them a target. But Crockett, who is well funded by the Israel lobby, commented with a video joking about the situation. Let's take a look.
So federal officials now want to speak to Hasan Piker. He has to actually go and address them in person. I mean, Kamala would have never. That's what you get for telling people to vote third party or not vote at all.
Kamala was brain dead. She was either drunk or high off Xanax throughout the entire campaign. People didn't vote for her because she had nothing to offer. That's it, it's that simple.
Yeah,
so the idea that Jasmine Crockett posted that video. So the idea that someone like Hasan deserves potential prison because he didn't go along with the candidate you preferred is disgusting. And that's a comment to Jasmine Crockett, who's an embarrassment, who's everything that's wrong with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, so what's funny is that I heard from the establishment people that we need unity. And now there's, and by the way, I debate Hasan all the time. I disagree with him on a ton of stuff. We did a whole show here at the Young Turks where Hasan and I would debate every week. I've debated him for 4-hour stretches. Putting me in prison? Are you nuts? What happened to your unity? Oh yeah, I don't like that kind of Democrat. They voted against Kamala Harris. Trump, imprison him. What? And what happened to resistance? No, people like Jasmine Crockett who do identity politics only, they're not actually trying to help us. They're trying to divide the country so you can't unify. So the minute Israel wants Hasan arrested, all of a sudden Jasmine Crockett's in favor of it?
Yeah.
That's pretty disgusting and not at all what a Democrat would do if a Democrat means anything anymore, and certainly not someone on the left. But Jasmine Crockett has now on a couple of occasions taken a weirdly pro-Israel stance. Could it be that she takes corporate PAC money and and foreign government money? And does all this theatrics not to actually help you but to divide us?
True.
Interesting.
Andrew Perez, journalist I appreciate, independent journalist, writes, a new wrinkle to crypto's election buying. Jasmine Crockett taped an ad for a crypto super PAC to help the industry take out her Democratic colleague, Al Green. That's who Jasmine Crockett is. The identitarianism is meant to dupe you, fool you, trick you. It's meant to fracture coalitions. It's meant to make you think that, hey, if a candidate or a politician looks a certain way, I should by definition just support them. No, you should support them if they have the substance that will make your life better. But if all they're doing is engaging in divisive, coalition destruction, then they're not working for you. They're working against you.
Yeah, you know what? Now things are a little clearer because why did she run against Tallarico at the last second? Colin Alrood was getting his ass handed to him. He was the establishment pick to run against Tallarico. Tallarico is saying that he won't fund Israel. So they're like, okay, Colin's not gonna win. Panic. Send in the identity politics lady who is doing a really good job of pretending to be a Democrat, right?
Yep.
And make sure she'll support Israel, right? She's like, oh yeah, I'll support Israel. And then Jasmine Crockett tries to come in to take out Tallarico. Sorry, it failed.
And what put Jasmine Crockett on the map? Her little tiff with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who these days, honestly, looks like she has far more morality when it comes to wanting to protect human lives than Jasmine Crockett ever has.
Because she's speaking out against genocide and war nonstop, and Crockett is quiet as a church mouse. I can't hear a thing from her. When you get into something that affects her, like super rich black people getting even more privilege.
Yep.
Not the average black person, doesn't care that much about that.
Nope.
But super, wait. I need my quotas. Not your quotas, my quotas, right? But all of a sudden, Palestinians are getting slaughtered. Oh, I got paid to ignore that. I haven't said a word. Okay.
All right, let's get to our final story. We'll talk about Pope Leo and how he's using the papacy to speak out against both artificial intelligence and Donald Trump. Pope Leo's warning about the impact and the destruction that will be brought upon us by artificial intelligence, and he did so in his first encyclical, which is seen as a veiled critique of President Donald Trump. In fact, the encyclical, which is a 235-page document, basically sets the tone for Pope Leo's papacy. And it took aim at AI advancements, which the Trump administration, of course, has sought to accelerate. So while Trump and Silicon Valley tech titans keep on, citing that the US must absolutely beat China in the AI race, Pope Leo ain't buying it. In fact, here's what he wrote. He compared AI to the Tower of Babel, which I'm gonna go to you to explain in just a moment, Cenk. So he writes that the primary choice is not between a yes or no to technology, but rather between constructing Babel or rebuilding Jerusalem. Cenk, what does that mean?
So the Tower of Babel is when, I don't love that analogy that he's using, but when humans work together to build a very large tower that almost reached God. God got jealous and knocked it down and then made us speak all different languages so we couldn't work together anymore. Not the best story in the Bible, if you ask me. And that's why that's called Babel, when you can't understand people, they're babbling, right? And so, but what he's referring to is the haughtiness and the pride of humanity as they build this monstrosity in the case of AI, thinking that it can't go wrong. I understand the power of that analogy, and in that case, I'm worried he's right.
So Leo has had quite a bit of conflict with President Donald Trump. In fact, just last month, they had a conflict over objections to the Iran war. Pope Leo, not a fan of war, whereas Trump clearly is a thirsty bitch for war. So in response, JD Vance, the vice president, and Trump suggested that he just shut up and focus on your papacy. In response, Leo decided to expand on his concerns of AI and how it will affect global warfare. warfare, saying that no algorithm can make war morally acceptable. AI does not remove the intrinsic inhumanity of conflict. Indeed, it can only bring about conflict more quickly and render it more impersonal, lowering the threshold for resorting to violence, transforming defense into threat prediction, and thus reducing victims to data. The construction of a world in a state of perpetual conflict is an evil and must be named for what it is. I wholeheartedly agree with him on that. In fact, new AI technology in warfare has been tested out in Iran, and we've seen how that worked out. Killed all sorts of innocent civilians, but who cares, right?
Now the Trump administration is like on a warpath against Catholics. This is so weird. I remember when the Republicans used to pretend no good Catholic could be a Democrat, because of abortion. You must listen to what the Pope says. Now they're like, you should never listen to what the Pope says. The Pope is anti-war and anti-AI, and we're all making billions from AI. I mean, you're all gonna get laid off, but who cares about you? And you're all gonna die in that war, but who cares about you? Oh, I can't believe the Pope is, is for the poor and the middle class. Boo! Is for peace. Boo! And now they're full bore attacking Catholics and the Pope.
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy. I mean, look, the biggest issue is that the Pope has been critical of Israel.
Oh my God, how dare you? Don't you know you have to follow someone else's religion?
And so that's what has made him a target of the Trump administration, because he speaks the truth on issues of war and peace. And I personally appreciate him for doing it. I think it's the right thing to do, and it makes the Catholic faith look a lot better when you have the Pope speaking out against bloodshed. All right, Operation Joy is next. tyt.com/join to become a member and support the work we do. We'll see you there.
All right, back on Operation Joy. So a couple of things here. First, I forgot to say this all day. Dave Smith's gonna co-host with me on Thursday, so make sure you're checking that out. Terrific fighter against the war and against genocide, etc. So Dave Smith on the show Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern.
I'll be playing hooky.
Okay, that sounds fun. By the way, I'm going on Diary of a CEO tonight. You'll probably get it in a day or so. So that's a huge podcast. That'll be interesting. I'm going to debate Kevin O'Leary on Iran and Israel. So Okay, let's see how that goes. All right, so now we're moving on to Operation Joy. So this is where we try to spread a little joy in the world. And Anna, I don't know if you might relate to this from over the weekend, but so I was watching Peaky Blinders, and I realized why people get so drunk, right? Why they drink
so
much.
drunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this is so obvious, right? But I don't think I'm this type of person, although certainly not with drinking. They wanna, so a lot of people do it just for fun, right? There's a lot of different reasons why people do it, but the folks who get heavy into it, sometimes it's because they just wanna escape life, right? Like you're gonna say that's the most obvious thing in the world, right?
Just keep going.
Okay, okay, all right. Anyways.
Yes, Jake, it's the most obvious thing in the world.
Of course,
okay,
no,
yes.
I know. I'm not trying to break ground here. I'm just
same
going over that.
Same with other substance use, you know?
Yeah.
You want to ease the pain.
Yeah. So now here comes the realization. That's not the realization.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, it would have been a pretty weak. So another realization: when you drink beer, if you drink enough of it, you will get drunk. Okay, no.
And bloated.
Yeah, well, so you know how I always tell you, like, as part of Operation Joy, you've got to learn how to compartmentalize, right? So yes, you can be stressed about the bills, you can be stressed about the news, you could be stressed about a lot of different things, but you've got to separate out some time for yourself and to recharge, feel better, and take care of yourself. And in those moments, I ask you to compartmentalize and put all that out of your head. Meaning not that you're not going to go back to it. You are going to go back to it. You're giving yourself a timeout, right? And so I've been trying to convince you guys of that, and I know it's a really hard thing. And when I talk about it, I feel like the reaction oftentimes is, yeah, but it's like nearly impossible. How can you block out all those things and just think of positive things or things that make you happy? Well, I realized a lot of us do that already. It's called drinking. Right? So it's not like it can't be done. It can be done. You just need to be able to do it without the drinking part.
I think the drinking happens because you have a difficult time compartmentalizing, right?
Yeah, but I think that a lot of people don't know that they're even supposed to try, right? Like, so if you asked an average person, what's the point of life? I think that you'd get a ton of different answers, right? I happen to think that the point of life is to enjoy life. Since I don't think that there is any meaning in life, I'm not saying that you need to think the way that I do, right? But meaning is a human trait. We need meaning in our lives. It doesn't mean that it's a universal trait, okay? Because the universe isn't human, right? So if I'm right that there isn't some grand purpose that the universe wants you to do to get the right karma and all that stuff, then all there's left is, oh, I happen to have a free life. And what am I gonna do with it?
I feel like I'd be way more useful in this conversation if I were stoned. No, but I'm not even kidding. Like, it helps me touch or reach a part of me that is unreachable when I'm sober.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, and I get it. You're having a hard time getting past it. So we're all, look, guys, in all of this Operation Joy, none of it is supposed to be like easy and you just turn on snap your fingers and you're like, oh my God, I'm happy all the time. No, we start out with a little compartmentalizing, see if we're gonna expand it. And so when I think about the point of life, I think, well, get the most out of life. So some people believe, well, wait for a second life, right?
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That second life isn't guaranteed at all. And by the way, in religion, they tell you, oh yeah, the poor are gonna inherit heaven, so don't worry, just stay poor. And the rich, oh, they'll never make it into heaven, so just let them keep all the money and power. I don't know that that's true. I know about this life, so make sure you're enjoying this life. And I'll take even a minute a day. So yes, you can compartmentalize, because I think the biggest trick, Anna, is people think, oh, that means I'm going to ignore my problems, and that's stupid. My problems aren't going to go away if you ignore them. And what I'm telling you is, don't ignore them, just come back to them later.
But sometimes your problems impede your ability to have a good time, right? So I'll give you an example. And this is one of my closest friends, his name's Tom. We got into a pretty, I say heated, I was really the one who was heated. He was usually,
really?
Yeah.
So surprised.
Because there was this whole thing about like, you know, like you have to be grateful and you should feel gratitude for like what you have in your personal life, which is true. Like my husband's super hot and loving and sweet and like, have you seen, like I've got a great family. I love my nieces and nephews to death. Like yes, my personal life is great. But this whole thing with Israel makes it really difficult for me to just focus on my little slice of life when every time I get paid, a portion of my paycheck goes toward genocide. When the economy is being destroyed through a war that we are fighting for Israel, right? Every time you go to the gas pump and you pay more because of Israel. Like how, you can never get ahead economically in America anymore unless you're already a billionaire or are inheriting a lot of wealth or are willing to do all sorts of scummy things in order to become wealthy. Like you used to be able to build a nice little nest egg and a nice little life here in the United States if you're willing to just work full-time job, be disciplined in your savings. But right now in America, you can't get ahead. You can't get, every single American in this country today is making less today. And I'm talking about workers, I'm not talking about the billionaires who don't work at all and they just make passive income. All workers are making a lot less money today than they did last year. Even if you got a little bump in your salary last year, bump in your wages last year, you're paid less. You wanna know why? Inflation. Why is that inflation a problem? Because we're fighting a war on behalf of a foreign country. Like how are you supposed to go out, spend money and enjoy yourself? When this is going on.
Okay, so that's a good conversation because this does run through a lot of people's heads and it might be a different problem for someone else, whether it's in the news or in their personal lives. I get it. And the more personal it is, the harder it is. So Anna, we've been robbed our whole lives.
Yeah, I know.
Like, so it's not just Israel, like the oil lobby gets 10 times what Israel gets every year.
But it's our oil lobby, Cenk.
Okay.
No, but look, I'm joking and it's wrong when the oil lobby does it. But like a foreign country that does nothing for us, that only abuses us and exploits us. Like, I thought we lived in a sovereign country. Like, you wanna know something? Even though I've always been very critical of our government, I freaking love this country and I genuinely thought like we live in the best, we're so free in America. We live in the best country in the world. We're sovereign, we're the most powerful country. No, we're not. No, we're not.
So I get everything you're saying because nobody's gonna potentially put you in prison if you say something against the oil companies.
Yes.
But these days you could literally have your freedom taken away if you say something about Israel. I would know because a family member might get arrested for a trip to Cuba, but mainly because he's criticizing Israel. So I understand all that. But my point is, if you like with the oil companies, even before this Israel stuff came about, if you wanted to focus on that particular robbery, that could also drive you crazy. Why the hell are we giving 35 billion to companies that are super profitable? Why do I have to give that money out of my paycheck? Why can't I negotiate drug prices? Why can't we have universal health care? These are all things that could rationally, understandably drive you crazy. But if you let everything drive you crazy, then you'll be driven crazy, right? So now, Anna, you of all people, you do everything you can to fight back against it. So how about giving yourself a break? Like if you don't, okay, how about if I frame it this way, because you're kind of a workaholic and that type of thing, right? If you don't give yourself a mental break, then it'll be easier to defeat you.
No, I wanna go to war, Cenk. Okay, like that
I tried.
Gives me pleasure. That gives me pleasure. I enjoy it.
Well, if you enjoy that, then by all means.
It's my happy place.
Okay, so that's a different thing. But guys, you don't need alcohol or drugs to compartmentalize. You can do it. And so please give yourself a break so you can recharge, you could be happy. Life gets lived in the meanwhile. You don't get judged at the very end and how did you do on your last day? Your last day is not any more important than today is or yesterday was or tomorrow is going to be. Every single day of your life counts. If you're not getting in happiness every single day, that's a day you wasted without a single moment of joy, and you're never going to be able to get it back. And the most precious thing in the world isn't money. I get the value of money, we all do, right? But the most precious thing in the world is time. Every time you waste a day not being happy at all, that's a day you could have filled with different things, different emotions, different experiences, not all of them pleasant. But you could have lived life and you could have enjoyed life a little bit more and you chose not to. I'm not judging you for it. That's the very last thing I want to do. I want to help you get past it so you don't do it again, so that you could have days that are filled with happiness and joy to the best of all of our abilities. All right, so let's go to some of you guys who wrote in at tyt.com/joy and found joy in the different things in your life, which is what we love to celebrate. So Velvet Jones wrote in, there's no source of joy better than making my daughter happy. As she's gotten a bit older and more aware as a 19-month-old can be, she's starting to really love animals. She has a particular affinity for fish, amphibians, and reptiles. She's my kid for sure. To give her something to enjoy visually as well as something to help take care of as she gets older, we got her some dart frogs. To be clear, they are not poisonous when they're captive bred, and she cannot actually get to them. But they're just for observing. She loves her frogs. She enjoys staring into the terrarium, spotting the bolder ones that are willing to endure her tapping fingers. It's really beautiful to see an animal lover in the making. And they included a picture of one of the dart frogs.
Oh, wow. Those are super dope.
They are, they're really, really cool. But do not touch them in the wild. Okay?
Frogs are so cute, like frogs are the cutest. I know that a lot of them are poison and I won't touch them, even though I never come across a frog. You know which ones are ugly? Those, not the frogs. Toads are ugly, man. I don't like the toads.
So I'm gonna throw one of my nephews under the bus here. I feel bad about it.
No, I love it, go ahead.
Okay, no, it's Murat. Okay.
I like Murat.
Okay, so Murat's my younger nephew. Hasan's 2 years older than him. And so Murat one day decides that he's gonna open up the pool back when my parents had the house in New Jersey, right? And my dad's like, it's too expensive, it's not worth it. We're too old, we're not going in anymore. You guys don't visit enough, it's just not worth it. Murat's like, I got this, right? And he's like, I'll open it. We don't need those people. I could do it for much cheaper, right?
What does open the pool mean?
Oh, you live in California, you have no idea what opening a pool is.
No.
In the rest of the country, it gets cold, so you have to close the pool, otherwise it'll freeze and it'll crack the cement. So you have to empty the pool and close it. Cover it up, and you only open it in the summer, and it costs a lot to open it. See, you don't even know that. That's amazing.
That's no way to live, man. You guys aren't meant to have pools, so just give it up. Okay.
Well, that's what we did until Murat came along. So then he gave it a shot, and he's a kid. He was in high school, right? And now he's like an aeronautical engineer, and bless him, and I'm super proud of him. But so he tried, and it was totally green. Right, didn't work. And so then Boro's over, which is always dangerous because he loves bus nuts, right? That's my friend from Turkey. So Murat's explaining to us, he says like, so I went to the store and I got all of these like amino acids or whatever they use to clean up the pool. And I'm like, yeah, that's mistake number one. And then I'm like, mistake number two, mistake number three. Anyways, long story short, frogs started living in the pool.
Oh no, oh no.
And they never left. So that became their new home. So from then on, my parents had burp, 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 burp.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So they just left it?
Well, I don't know, but a bunch of things happened. But once the frogs came, we heard the frogs until they sold the house.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Anyways, he tried, and what do we say all the time? Get caught trying, and that's what Murat did. Proud of him. Okay, by the way, other funny story related to reptiles. I just saw the headline. I didn't even read the story. There's too many serious things going on, but RFK Jr. apparently was handling 2 snakes.
Of course,
because
he was. Of course he was.
Of course, okay. Right? And they bit him twice.
Homeboy, you're surrounded by snakes and you put yourself in that position. So
yeah, and by the way, they also bite him, right? Yeah. What happened to going after big food? Anyways, I thought, look, it would be terrible, of course, but it would be kind of hilarious if RFK Jr. died from that.
No, that wouldn't be funny.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
And by the way, why are you wrestling snakes? Like, what are you doing? Like, just, okay, you're impressive, you have muscles, you're a big tough guy. Like, let's just, please be safe. Leave the snakes alone.
Who leaves a dead bear in Central Park and then wrestles with snakes when you're the head of Health and Human Services?
I don't know.
And then loses and gets bit twice. Okay, anyways. All right, so now let's go back to tyt.com/joy. Anti-Descriptive writes in, Oh, I forgot to give this to you, sorry. If you guys want, you can write in now, okay, while we're doing it. They wrote in, my oldest just turned 8 over the weekend, a long one here in Canada. We spent it visiting his grandparents, my in-laws, at their house outside of the city. Tonight, my joy is hanging out on the front porch with him, his dad and his little sister, watching the storm roll in as we listen to the Blue Jays game. That sounds awesome, by the way. Like, I'm not a big baseball fan these days, but lazily watching a baseball game on the weekend as there's a huge storm outside is super cool.
Hard pass.
Okay, I remember.
Baseball games are fun in the flesh. There's something about the sound, like the sound of the crowd while the sports announcers do their pithy commentary, annoys the crap out of me.
Oh, interesting. When you're watching at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to go to the games, but not watching TV.
I don't watch baseball anymore, but I felt like it was my constitutional duty to try to get the kids into it. So when the Dodgers were in the World Series a couple times, like, all right, and Ohtani, and you guys are Asian, he's Asian.
Ohtani's super impressive.
Right, come on, let's go. And
total stud.
Every time, bro's like, it's so boring. I can't stand it, it's so boring. Pitch the ball, pitch the ball. Oh, look. Yet another time he looked at the ball and didn't do anything. Okay. Okay, anyways, I tried. But I get the storm thing. I remember being at a relative's house in Turkey, storm rolls in, and it's like this section outside the home that was a little bit more rickety, and so it's like the doors are shaking and it's like a major storm. And I tell my dad in Turkish, oh, this is so cool, I'm glad we're here in the middle of the storm. And my great uncle's like, what kind of cursing son have you brought into my house? He's like cursing the whole house. What do you mean you want the storm? We don't want the storm, it's gonna blow the house down. This bejinxer guy you've brought in here. Okay, anyways. Cheesy Fingers writes in, my joy is giving to others. Nothing makes me smile more knowing I can brighten up someone else's day, whether it's a bad pun, there are no bad puns, a well-timed dad joke, or just my user handle that Cenk thinks is hilarious.
Is this Christian? I think that's my husband probably.
Really?
He lives for dad jokes and bad puns, like lives for them.
That's what Christian and I share. Okay.
You definitely do share that,
yes.
yes.
I do Cheesy Fingers, that's funny. That's a funny handle.
It is, and I appreciate Cheesy Fingers. I love it when I have cheesy fingers.
You see, there you go. You see, you brought a little joy in the world. Okay, love it. And guys, if you're new to Operation Joy, also, huge thing that I emphasize over and over, low bar, okay? If you have a low bar, then you appreciate everything, okay?
My bar is super freaking low, and I'm not experiencing that, Cenk, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so we go, Meowsers gets sick this weekend. And so
how did you know that Meowsers was sick? Like, what were the symptoms?
Okay, so number one symptom is he starts vomiting over and over again.
That's a pretty good sign.
Not really that complicated to figure out.
True,
okay.
true, yes.
And then he starts vomiting all of the hair bundles.
Hair balls?
No, not hair balls. Like the little things you guys use to.
Hair ties?
Hair ties.
Why is Meowsers eating hair ties?
He loves eating strands. I think he probably thinks it's worms or something. On my TYT hoodies, he bites the strings off and eats them, and then vomits them and poops them out. And it's a whole thing. He does it all the time. And then he gets into crouching position. He's like, when he gets into crouching position, he's like, "Ooh, my tummy hurts. My tummy hurts." Okay. And so finally, we had to take him to the emergency room. And they're always like, okay, $271, we checked his vitals. I'm like, you mean you eliminated a bunch of things that he doesn't have, right? And they're like, no, we just checked his vitals. I'm like, I already know he's alive. You didn't have to charge me $271 to tell me he's alive. You didn't eliminate any other possibilities. They're like, no. Well, they're like, we could do x-rays. And I'm like,
no, don't do the x-rays.
Okay, so but we're rookies, right?
Yeah.
So like we're seriously
You did
debating
x-rays?
So hold on. And they're like, okay, and I'm like, what are the x-rays gonna tell us? Well, they could tell you if there's more of that in his stomach or whatever, and then what would we do? Well, then you might wanna do surgery. How much do the x-rays cost? $1,500. Oh my God. How much does the surgery cost? $15,000. But the surgery is gonna invite more problems. It's gonna create way more problems, right? So like you open up a pet, they're not gonna be able to, like I'm worried they couldn't sustain that kind of damage, right?
Just give the cat rice.
Rice?
Actually, don't do that. I don't know if it's okay for cats. But like, when Charlie has a stomach bug, make him rice and bland chicken. Because the rice like plugs him up.
Oh, I didn't even know that, but I don't know if they're supposed to be plugged up. Anyways, so we wrestle with it, like Joy's on the verge of tears.
Oh no.
And the vets always do that. They're like, oh, aren't you gonna do anything?
Oh, it's the curse of having children, because you'll do anything to make them happy.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
and the vet was totally exploiting that whole situation.
Don't get me started.
So you paid the $15,000 for the surgery, obviously. No,
well, we didn't do that. So no, I talked it through, and I was like, look, you have to tell me, like, if we find out the X-rays show something, is there a second option other than surgery? Because I'm not gonna do the surgery either way, because I think it'll endanger him more. Because he's had this before and recovered without surgery. So is there a second option? They're like, no, the only option is surgery. And I'm like, then there's no point in the X-rays.
Yeah.
And then we brought him home, he started eating, he's totally fine.
Okay, you gotta get, and you're not gonna do this because it's gonna take time out of your day and you gotta shop around, but we finally got insurance for Charlie because he's getting older. He turned 10 this year, it's breaking my heart.
Oh my God, Charlie's 10? Holy cow, I can't believe that.
I know, it's devastating. It's devastating, but it's life. And anyway, so as they get older, they have more and more ailments, and that day is gonna come where it's gonna be something a little more serious, and the vet's gonna be like, your dog is gonna die unless you pay us $30,000, right?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen.
So insurance hopefully will mitigate that to some extent.
To some extent?
Yeah, we'll
but
see.
You know how insurance is. Oh, your dog's actually sick. No, I'm sorry, we don't cover that.
I know, I'm waiting for that day. I know it's gonna come, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, all right, let me give you the last couple here. Chef Topher writes in, Sonic Temple, a 4-day hard rock and heavy metal in Columbus, Ohio, just took place this weekend. It was fantastic, yes, because of the awesome bands, but mainly because I barely looked at my phone. My phone only came out to check what band to watch next, text plans with my friends at the festival, and or take pictures of the bands and my friends. First of all, Chef Topher, you probably saved a lot of money if you have Noble Mobile. You know what I'm saying? You get cash back if you don't use your data. Double win. TYT.com/switch. Okay, anyways, he continues. With the help of some mind-altering substances, I got totally lost in the music and left the war, economy, and this entire regime somewhere near the gate when I entered.
Yes.
I love the metal community because they are always super supportive and usually looking out for one another, especially in the pit or crowd surfing. I felt that everyone was there for the same unified purpose of shutting off the world outside and just living in the moment.
Yes.
Compartmentalizing,
Yes.
there you go.
That's what raves are for too.
So many great bands, but Tool did kind of take the show
Yes.
during the last set of festival with their background visuals and vibe of music, and of course a heavy dose of my favorite vitamin, THC. We need this distraction, and I'm happy to go every year. Maybe I'll see you there. Thanks for listening to my story. Love you, TYT. #Team Joy.
I love that, and it's true. Going to shows like that, I mean, that's definitely a good example of me compartmentalizing. In fact, Christian and I went to the Greek over the weekend to go see a Led Zeppelin cover band. And I promised myself, I'm gonna let loose, I'm gonna compartmentalize. I had a little too much fun. Best part of the night, there were 2 super young guys in their early 20s. And one of them, they were both super wasted, but one of them apparently was having some trouble with the girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and Christian and started asking for relationship advice. And he's like, you guys look like you're in love. And we are, right? So, and then I start giving him advice and he's like, wait, so how old are you guys? Are you guys married yet? And I was like, oh, we're in our 40s. Well, I'm not quite in my 40s yet. I'm gonna turn 40 in July. Best part of the night was like, you guys are in your 40s? It's like, he said we look good.
Yeah, of course. Did you wind up helping him or no?
Of course, yeah. I basically told him, she was upset because he went to the show that he was looking forward to for months. And she didn't have a ticket, so she's at home and he's at the show with his family, and a friend of his. And I was just like, just be confident and let her know I was looking forward to this. It doesn't take away from our relationship. If you can't handle me having fun with my family and my good friend without you, then it's just not gonna work out.
Damn,
be super strong. No, but it's true. And by the way, vice versa. Like some dude I'm dating tells me like, no, you can't go hang out with your friend tonight. Okay, how about you kick rocks? We're not gonna be together anymore. Like you're not gonna control me, I'm not gonna control you. This is a partnership.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go on a weird tangent.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so, and I don't know, I might get judged here though. So I was dating someone a long time ago, briefly, like we had just started, we were friends, then we kind of hooked up, and then we kind of hesitantly started going out, but we weren't sure about it, right? Neither one of us.
Situationship?
Something like that. Yeah. And so on like the second kind of quasi date, I'm just having a sake or something. We're having sushi, and I wanted to unwind. I think it was a Friday night, and when she said, "Do you mind not drinking? Because my dad had a drinking issue, so I don't want you to drink."
It's over.
And I said,
"You got to work on your dad issues on your own. Like I'm not your dad. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm gonna drink the sake."
Yeah, and what I said was. No, I'm sorry, but like I want to unwind, and I'm not a big drinker at all, and you know that, right? And I told her, and she's like, yeah, I know. And so, but I got to be able to enjoy myself. Does that mean I can't ever drink around you? And I'm just not your dad, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a different person. I don't have those issues.
And what did she say?
And she's like, but it bothers me. So I don't. So can you respect that? And I was like. I mean, even though I did tonight, I couldn't going forward. What am I never gonna drink again, right? So this is like kind of an irrational request, sorry. And so-
She has unresolved trauma involving her father. And she is unleashing that on you, and that's not fair to you. Look, this is the way I view relationships, okay? I view life as unbearable because you have to abide by all sorts of rules and all sorts of people trying to control you. In some cases, you literally have to let them because your livelihood relies on it. You spend most of your time at work where people are telling you what you can and can't do. So I'll be damned if in my personal life, in my personal time, I'm gonna be in a situation where my significant other is like trying to dictate every little thing I do, including whether or not I can have freaking sake on a Friday night when I'm at a sushi place. No, unacceptable. By the way, and the same treatment is carried out by me when it comes to my partner. I'm not interested in controlling every movement of my husband. By the way, we didn't even share our own locations on our iPhones until last year. Last year was the first time we did it. And he kept asking.
I don't even know what that means.
So like sometimes, he'll text me and I'm busy, so I don't respond for like a few hours. And he'll get worried. I was at it happened after I went to speak at a panel event, right? I was on a panel. And afterwards, there was a meet and greet that I didn't realize I was supposed to be part of, but I did the meet and greet. And so when Christian didn't hear from me because I was in the middle of conversations with people who paid for like VIP tickets, he freaked out, called the organizers of the event to make sure I was okay.
Which is nice of him.
Which was nice of him. I was a little bit embarrassed by it, but whatever. And then after that, he's like, if you don't want this to happen, we gotta like share location. And finally, I gave up and said, sure, we should do it. I just don't like being controlled. And he doesn't control me at all, but I'm like so allergic to it that I like held off on that until like finally I gave in last year.
Yeah, and I always think like if I share a location with someone, I'm also sharing it with Israel.
Well, you're all, no, that's already happening, whether you like it or not. They know your every move.
Yeah, and so look, it's none of this stuff is easy, guys, but take baby steps going in that direction. Like
be free.
Yeah, so for example, with Israel, I've told you guys this before, we kid around at home and like, we wave to our devices and go, hi Mossad, right?
I do that all the time.
Yeah, so.
But usually it's a middle finger, not a wave.
You're waving with one of your fingers. But anyways, like if there's nothing you could do about it, then why bother stressing about it? And I know it's hard to turn it off, but like take baby steps towards turning it off, right? If I already fight for justice in every way that I can, why do I have to stress myself out in the 1 or 2 hours a day that I'm not working, right? Okay.
I love this comment, can I read it?
Of course.
Okay, so this is in our tyt.com members section. This is from Bert's Plurt, who says, makes me so happy how TYT is going compared to a few years ago. They seem happy/happier at least.
All right, well, God bless.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, all right, I'll just say one last thing and then we gotta go. So there was a theory a couple of years ago that we were right-wingers who loved Trump. How's that worked out? Okay, so well, you should remember who told you the truth and who lied to you. But okay, anyways, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so much love, guys. Now, normally we'd have old school, but tonight I'm doing that Diary of a CEO recording, so we'll give that to you on tyt.com/press when it comes out. So Dave Smith on Thursday. Tomorrow,
I'll be here tomorrow.
Joe Kent on the show tomorrow.
I'll be interviewing Joe Kent about the whole kerfuffle that happened over the weekend with the alleged peace deal, and I have a few challenging questions for him, which I'm sure he'll appreciate.
All right, challenging questions for Joe Kent. Love it. Much love.
Bye-bye.